What you're about to hear is a discussion about personal experience with cancer. We're not medical professionals, and at no point are we making recommendations for diagnosis, treatment, nor care. All opinions are highly personal as each individual experiences mental and physical side effects of cancer and cancer treatments differently. We're only here to listen, discuss, and break the social taboo of cancer. Okay, we are back. And Avery's back, actually. He's joining us on this one. Hello, Avery.
Hello, Eva.
Hi.
Hi.
We're also here with Mel. Again, our last conversation was also with Mel and Brandon.
And me.
Oh, yes.
Don't forget.
Des is also here. I didn't forget. You were just included.
Well, I'm always here, so.
Sorry, Des is also here, first and foremost. Thanks for joining us, guys. We like to jump right in. And Brandon, you let us know at 22 you were diagnosed. So we just want to know a little bit more about what that process was like. Mm-hmm. Starting specifically with, what were some of the first things that you noticed that made you think that maybe something was off?
Yeah, so in my case, I was diagnosed with testicular cancer. So it was pretty easy to notice something was off.
Oh, yeah?
It's kind of just started out transparently. Obviously, testicular cancer has to do with my testicles. I personally just thought I had too much fun in the bedroom. Mm-hmm. So I thought I kind of hurt myself. And so I kind of left it for about like 2 to 3 weeks. And then the swelling never went away. And it was just in one side, which is obviously kind of abnormal. And so I went to the doctor. Initially, I didn't go to my family doctor. I happened to go to one that was just like a clinic. And I was going back and forth maybe 3 or 4 times until eventually, which I don't think a clinic doctor is supposed to tell you this, but he said, oh yeah, it looks like it could be cancer. Oh. It's like, oh, okay. It's odd because like they shouldn't be telling you that because they don't actually know. They haven't actually done the test. They like, even just using like certain words, like there's a difference between saying, oh, you might have cancer versus, oh, this could be cancerous, or like this could be that, or this number of things.
Yeah.
And then I actually like went back and forth for like, after that initial 3 weeks and going, I went back and forth for about a month when I actually got, I guess, reference to an actual doctor. They actually referenced me to, I don't know the exact term, but the women's doctor. So when I went, they actually had to send me back, which set me back like another 2 weeks.
Oh, they like accidentally booked the wrong type of doctor?
The wrong type of doctor, yeah. It was the same sort of, I guess, cancer researching doctor. I don't know what the right term is, but just for women specifically. And then eventually when I got to, I guess the men's doctor, it was at Sunnybrook. And this was like 2 or 3 months in of me having like this idea of basically just like the size of an acorn on one side, if you can hold that mental image. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Just on one side. So it was like to the point where like I couldn't I couldn't wear denim or anything that was like restricting. I only wore sweatpants and like big cargo pants, which luckily that was in style, so it was cool.
I have a question. Did it grow really fast, or was it just that you were kind of ignoring it until it got to a certain size? Because that seems like a really large size.
No, it grew pretty quickly, within like 2 months.
So
yeah, and it kept growing. It didn't stop.
So was the first symptom that you had swelling that you noticed, like, or was it pain? Like what sort of tipped you off?
So like it was just like red. The reason why you see like in movies and stuff like where people like they're like, oh my God, I have cancer, it's such a shock, is because there's no symptoms. Like when you have a tumor, it's not like, oh, I have a cold, or oh, this part of me hurts. Like the only reason I noticed is because, and the only reason it was like in a sense swelling and hurt is because of the weight of it. Because of obviously where it is, there's nothing to like hold it up. It's not like it's like in my arm or something like that, right?
Yeah.
It's like weighing it down, right?
Yeah.
So like the fact that it was like so weighted was the pain. So it wasn't like someone like pinching you. It's like a throbbing, almost like pulsating pain. So that's kind of what I noticed. Like I'm pretty like, I guess I would say secure with my body. So I'm like open, like if something's wrong, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to the doctor. I'm not like this like guy who's like too manly to go to the doctor. I'm sick. I'm not going to take meds. Like, no. Like give me all the meds. Like I want to feel better, you know? But yeah, like basically after like a couple months of going back and forth and it like, getting to that point, I went into like Sunnybrook and I was there basically the whole day. hospital system sucks. I don't know how I'm there for like an 8-hour day just in the hospital, and I'm like, you know, like texting my mom, oh yeah, I'll be home like by this time, and blah blah blah, and then it gets to like maybe like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. I don't even remember the time. It was kind of hazy. And then so I finally see the doctor, and then he looks at it, and like I could tell like right away he's like kind of like, what the, like I was like, what the fuck? He was like, you could see in his face, he's kind of like, oh shit, like shit. Like this. And then he kind of went away, did his thing, and kind of looked at what was inside. And again, he used that same term I'm saying. He was like, oh, like it looks like it could be like a cancerous tumor. Like he basically said, like, you can't leave. So like that same day I went into hospital, I thought I was just gonna go home or whatever was happening with me. He's like, yo, like you can't leave, like you have to do a surgery like within the next couple of days. So I had to like tell my mom to like come down and like a couple hours, like, because my mom doesn't have a car, so she had to come, and I lived in Scarborough at the time, so I had to come down to like Sunnybrook,
which for context, Sunnybrook is downtown Toronto,
and
Scarborough is about like a 30-40 minute drive depending on traffic.
Yeah, well, I don't have to take transit. Mom doesn't have a car.
Oh right.
So like it was like an hour and a half.
Right.
So like an hour and a half of like my mind boggling. Obviously, like I can't, like I'm like there by myself, and almost like because the first clinic kind of told me already, oh, like you might have cancer, I was kind of already prepared for it. But then like when they actually take you into like the white room and they sit you down and they're like, well, like this is the situation, and you're like, oh shit. But then they say, oh, you know, but it might not be, it might be this, but like we still have to, again, like explicitly, we still have to cut your balls off, basically.
And you're alone.
Yeah, and I'm alone at this point, and then he has to like re-say it like when my mom gets there, because even though I'm like of age, it's still like my mom, and like she obviously wants to know, and it's the only, like at that point it's like, okay, you're gonna need some sort of caregiver, and this is who you live with, so that's what it was at the time. And then it was just like yeah, so when you get into the hospital, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I just had one question about that day. So before you saw the doctor, were you just waiting that whole time? Or
for like 8 hours.
Wow. So there wasn't tests during that time or anything. It was just sitting there waiting and just thinking.
Like, I was just sitting there waiting, thinking. You get into a room. It's like 10 minutes of him putting some sort of gel on your testicles that already fucking hurt. And then like him going away for like 20 minutes, coming back and like, yep, you have cancer.
So did they scan you with the gel?
Yeah.
So you got like an ultrasound.
Yeah, exactly. And they
knew, not comfortable.
And they knew right away.
I can imagine.
Yeah, like he basically said like, looking at you, I already knew. But like I can't say that. I have to make sure like it's okay. And even then he still can't say it because it's like, I have to take the tumor out to know if it's cancerous. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing.
She had the same experience with which is such a like for you to, I mean, it's just so interesting to hear, because when Desiree had her experience, it was so long.
Yeah.
Like it was so long until they could confirm it. And even when they could confirm it, they weren't 100% sure on like what stage it was at, even like with the location of it, like how the treatment was going to look. But with you, it was like 8 hours, like just instantly taken care of. But that's so much faster.
And one ultrasound, which seems like such a non-conclusive test to be like,
so,
I did ultrasounds before, but like not with like a specialist, like a doctor that like that was like his thing.
So you did the ultrasound. Did they do any other testing before surgery, or was it just ultrasound and then you did surgery?
Ultrasound and then basically just did surgery. They just kind of, because they had already, there was already a bunch of ultrasounds and I guess other things before that. But yeah, basically like I said, like he already knew what it was as soon as he looked at it. Like, I guess because it's in such a, I guess, obvious place, like you see it. It's not like it's like inside my body and it's growing, and like no matter how big or small it is, like you can't really see it. Like you could literally see it, like from, all it is like a thin layer of skin that's there, right? So you can literally see it growing. And then once I explained it and he saw my past ultrasounds, like they already knew there was no point. And he's like, yeah, like we can see from the inside that basically the testicle, it's already dead. Like there was no, like, I guess, blood flow in it. And it had been dead for however long. So like even at that point, it's kind of like, okay, like in my head I was kind of like, okay, if they caught it sooner, would there be something where they could like move around it sort of and like just cut it off and like I still have it? But it doesn't really make sense to think like that, because what's done is kind of done already. Like
I know, but you think about that gap in
Yeah, I think about it all the time.
like I mean, same here. Like we had COVID that she was dealing with, and there was huge delays. And like one of the things I was just like super paranoid about was that it was growing in that time.
Yeah.
Like it was gonna like, because at that point for her there was like margins with the tumor.
Yeah.
And so my thought was like, well, the longer we wait, like the bigger it gets, the larger the margins are, the more the breast they take. Like you just start spiraling. But you're right though, like it's done.
Yeah, you can't help but do it. But like I still think I think it's a rational thought though. Like why wouldn't you want to be, you know, in less pain and have less cancer, like however you want to think about it. It's odd to think about. I try not to think about it too much because I don't want to like kind of take myself back there in that like mind state, because like again, like what's done is done. We're kind of where we're at now. We're not where we were. So yeah, I just move past that point.
Did they give you a sense of when your cancer started? Did they give you a sense of that before the surgery?
No,
They didn't
really.
know, yeah?
No, because they had to cut it out because it was a thing where regardless of whether it had spread or not, like I had to get it, like they had to cut it out because it was just growing. It was going to be like it was just really uncomfortable. Like I couldn't function. Like it was taking away from like my life basically. But even then, like when you go into emergency surgery, there are levels of emergency surgery. There's like I don't even remember what the ranking is, but like let's say it's like A, B, and C, and depending on your ranking, if you're like an A, it's like like same day in the next 4 hours, like as soon as the doctor's ready, like you're getting cut open. If you're B, it's like okay, like as long as there's no A's, then you're good. And then if you're C, as long as there's no B's, then you're good. And so like my emergency surgery that was supposed to be the same day didn't happen until 2 days later. Yeah. And you're just like in a bed, like waiting. And then they're like, oh yeah, like if a doctor is ready by like 8 p.m. tonight, then you'll go in. And so for 2 days, I'm waiting until 8 p.m.
At the hospital?
At the hospital.
Oh my God.
Just like in a bed, and you're just like waiting. You're like, okay, like once if it hits 8 p.m., then you're not getting a surgery till the next day. And then you got to wait from like 8. It's basically from 8 to 8.
Did they give you a room? Did you have a room during this time where you could just like be in your...
No, I had a room. Yeah.
So for our context, was this prior to COVID? Or was this during COVID?
Yeah, prior to COVID.
Prior to COVID. Yeah, because now you're how old?
I'm 26.
Okay, cool. So it's been like a few years now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Was your mom with you when you were waiting?
Yeah.
Okay, so you weren't alone.
Yeah, I wasn't alone physically.
Yeah. But mentally. Well, I would like to know, I guess, like how did you deal mentally with that weight? Because that's like a hard.
I think if I was physically alone, I would have felt it more. But because like I kind of saw my mom feeling it, like it took the weight off of me, and I was like, nah, like I gotta make sure my mom's okay. Even though like it's happening to me, it's almost not affecting me as much as it's affecting her. And that might just be my mentality, like just the way that I think about myself, and like just like because me and my mom are so close, like I'm an only child, it's just me and my mom, like almost like my best friend. So it's like to see my mom hurting, even though like I'm the one physically in pain, like I'm sure like Avery, you can probably test this, or I guess rather you can, like seeing Avery like just like feeling like it's like this daunting thing that's happening to you, and you're like it's almost affecting him, almost not necessarily more than you, but just in a different way.
Yeah.
So even though he's caring for you, you kind of have to care for him in a different way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I always thought about it like it's happening to both of us.
Yeah.
Just in different ways.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because if the worst case scenario happens and like I die, he's the one that has to pick up the pieces and go on. So in a way that's worse, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely very heavy. And for me, at least, I felt like I was like inflicting pain on people that I love, even though it's out of your control, right?
Yeah.
So
even the idea of like I'm sitting there, I'm like, how am I going to tell people I have cancer? Or like, do I tell people? Is that something you tell people? Like, hey, by the way, like, I just want to let you know because I care about you, I might die.
That's a really good point,
like,
though, because I feel like I didn't know, like, who do you tell? Like, what level of closeness?
Yeah.
You know, where's the line that I cut off of like, oh no, you're an acquaintance, so I like don't tell you, but who do I reach out to and like tell because you should know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a weird mental thing that you have to go through.
It's like a wedding invite, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, actually, that's a good
really
way to think
the
about
worst
way to put
version.
it.
Yeah.
The worst wedding invite. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but that's exactly what like it it kind of was at that point. But even at that point, like, because they weren't necessarily saying, oh, you have cancer, like that's what it was. Like in my head, I'm like, okay, maybe I don't. Maybe they're gonna take it out and it's gonna be like, I don't know, God knows
Benign,
whatever,
yeah.
some benign thing or something that's just not cancer. But like, again, when he said, oh, it's a cancerous tumor, but it still might not be cancer. It's like, okay, man. Okay.
No, but they
that was like exactly my experience too.
Yeah.
It was literally like, oh, it's pre-cancerous calcifications. And I'm literally like, I don't know what any of this shit means.
Yeah, I mean, you have this, like, I used to call it like, it's like a bomb that you're like carrying with you all of a sudden. And no matter who you tell, you're sort of like dropping it on them, you know, like not just because of the, like what the information is, but just how they have to then react with you.
Yeah.
Like how comfortable they are to like be there for you, or like, you know, you kind of see it throughout your friends and your family.
Yeah.
Just like how each person in your life can sort of deal with that.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting though, that you were the strong one for your mom. Cause like, I kind of felt like I was the strong one in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like I had to be, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I think that no matter what your like caregiver relationship is, like someone has to keep that burden or hold that strength, you know?
Yeah. No, I get that. Even like, during the whole process, I'm trying to remember, I don't think my mom cried in front of me ever. Like there'd be times where like I'm in the room and like, because I'm in the bed, like I can't move. And I like hear my mom crying. And my mom would come in the room and there's nothing, just because that's the type of person that she is. So like when I would hear those things, or like, you know, my family would talk about it, or like just like my friends would like be like, oh yo, you know, like, oh like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Da da da. And be like, oh yeah, I talked to your mom. She's doing okay. Like, don't worry about it. Da da da. Like, it's kind of like, okay, like true. Like, okay, like that's all I'm thinking about at that point, because I don't know. I can't even say why I thought about that. I didn't put myself first and my own well-being, but I just knew like something in me just told me, okay, like she's gonna need more than what I'm gonna need, like during this whole process or whatever this process. Again, at that time I didn't know what the process was gonna be, but during however long this is gonna be, she's gonna need more than I am, because like I guess I'm more emotionally sound, I know than my mom was, at least at that time. Mm-hmm.
Is that why you said you felt like you were physically not alone, but what was like the heavy but there?
Yeah, physically not alone, as in like my mom's in the room with me, or she's outside in like the like hallway part of the hospital. But like mentally, I knew, how do I say this? My mom's not a hugger. Let's say that. She's not a type of person that like shows her love like physically and like, oh, I love you, and oh, kiss goodnight and da da da. She doesn't do that sort of stuff. She does a plethora of other things, but just not that. And like she, during the whole process, she didn't really know how to deal with it. Like she couldn't even like look at me. Like it was just like really hard. Like because she wasn't the type of person who wanted to cry in front of people or show emotion in front of people. So there's times she literally couldn't look at me. Like she'd be in the bed, she's like, you know, sitting by a bedside, and she's just like this, like talking to me like this. Like when I say like this, I guess people can't see what I'm doing. Just like not looking at me, kind of like looking aside as she's like having like a full conversation with me. Depending on like if I had like the things, I don't even know what they're called, the things in your nostrils, like that, like she wouldn't look at me. But if I was just like there, like, you know, like
you have to have an oxygen tube.
At a point. Just because like I don't really breathe properly when I sleep. It was, what is it called?
Sleep apnea.
Yeah. I found out I had that because after one of the things that I did, like the thing that checks like your heart rate. So every time like my mind would just, I guess, just stop breathing, and it would just go off. Like every 10 minutes it would go off, and they're like, kind of like what's wrong? And then my doctor had to come and like just ask me. It's like, oh, like, are you sleeping okay? Like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, like I think I'm fine. And then he just had to like sit there and wait for me to sleep. Like my doctor's just like chilling beside me, just waiting for me to fall asleep. And then he's just like, oh yeah, you probably have like sleep apnea, but like obviously we're not gonna deal with that now. It's not the worst of your situation.
Well, yeah, there's a little silver lining though. You're having better sleeps now, I guess.
Yeah,
maybe.
Did you have anybody else? I guess there's a little bit of a chronology here. So you were waiting until you had your surgery to communicate to your friends
So I actually didn't communicate to my friends initially. So like when I actually got and did the surgery, when I woke up, it was just like my mom, and actually like when they're like rolling me back into the room, one of my friends was actually like walking in the hallway, like coming to see me. So he was like the first person I saw.
Wow.
And he just like looked back at me, and I just like started laughing. And I was like, oh shit, like, yo, what's up, bro? And he just like looks at me, and he's just like, he doesn't know what to say.
Yeah.
Because he's just kind of shook, because I guess if I were to guess how he was feeling, it's like when you have a moment where, let's say you saw something in a movie and it's like happening in real life, you're kind of like, whoa, like, and there's no reaction, there's nothing to say, you're kind of just in awe, but almost in like in a negative way. And so he just like walked beside me for a bit, and he just kind of like stopped, and then I like kept going. And I don't know if that's because like he was feeling a way about it at the time. And then when they rolled me into my room, like I have like a group of friends, like 6 guys who I grew up with, like from when I was like 8 years old, and they were just like all in the room that I was like already there, and I was just there. I just started laughing, like, yo, what's up, guys? Yeah. And then they got like super emotional and stuff, and they're just like quiet, like just, I guess for reference, like I'm the smallest one of my friends, like in age and like literally like in height. So even for them, like I'm just like looking up at them, and it's just like big group of guys just like looking at me, and they're just like staring, like they're just staring. And then there's like a couple of them who, again, same sort of thing, they just like couldn't look at me. So I guess again that's to reiterate like why I felt like mentally I was like kind of alone, because the attitude that I had towards it like was very different than obviously how my friends and family were reacting. So like a lot of them, like I didn't tell them, they just like kind of showed up. I don't know if it was my mom or someone, whoever. I'm sure like maybe I was talking to someone and said, yo, like this is the situation, I'm gonna be in the hospital, like if you don't see me, like this is why. And maybe my mom told them, or someone probably saw my mom in my building and just like was like, yo, like what's going on? And then it's just broken telephone after that point. Everyone just like starts showing up, and I'm just there just like laughing, like making dark jokes and stuff, which I shouldn't make. And I'm just like, yo guys, I'm just one nut in it now, you know.
You have to though.
Yeah, you have to. Like, yeah, that's what got me through like a lot of the like stares of people like just looking at you, or they grab your arm, they're like, it's good to see you. It's good to see you. It's like, it's good to see you too, man. Like
people just get really awkward.
Yeah. And it happens to this day, actually. Like people like grab the side of your arm, and they'll be like, it's good to see you. Your hair looks nice.
You're still alive.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, I'm still here.
It's always the hair comment. Like they look at my hair, they're like, hair looks nice. I'm like, thanks, man. Like, I get it. I was bald for like a second. Like, I get it, you know? It was a look though. It was a look, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's to answer your question. That's why I felt mentally alone, because I just wasn't on the same plane as everyone else. Like when things hit me, I let it hit me when I was like alone, kind of. And then when people were around, I tried to like cheer everyone else up, because everyone was so sad because like stuff was happening to me. But yeah.
How were you feeling at that point? Like once you had the surgery, where was your mind at?
I was in the woe is me stage, but no one knew that because of the dark jokes. I was just like it just didn't feel real, like something that I always said to people and that always played in my head. I was like, yo, I've never, like when you see the commercials about like cancer and donate to this and donate to that, it's really old people or like really young people. And like, even just like, okay, those old and young people, I'm like, I'm not even seeing like black people in this. Even that, like seeing a black person in a cancer commercial, I've never seen that. Like maybe there was that, and maybe there is, but I've just never put that together. And then the only person that I personally had experience that had cancer in like my family or friends was like my grandfather, who was like already really old. And I kind of associated like, I feel like when people get like to a certain age and their body just starts deteriorating, the doctor says, oh, you have this, and you have this, and you have this. you're on your deathbed. Like, and it just seems like it happens because like when people talk, oh, my grandfather died, he had this, this, and this. My grandmother died. My great aunt died, and she ended up having this, this, and this when she died. Versus like, yeah, like I'm 23 and I have cancer. Yeah. And people are like, what? Like, what? People who are 23 get cancer? Like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like it's such a weird connection to make. I had like this really weird experience. I think probably the day after I found out, where I like went to sleep and then woke up in the morning and like I thought that it was a dream. It was like I was having like that cognitive dissonance where like you don't accept it as like your story. And that was like a huge thing. I think you picture your life a certain way, right? And then this thing happens that you think could like never happen. And then you're in it and it's like really hard for your mind to accept at first.
I think after going through a lot of the different things, like I still feel like that. Like I still feel like there are things that have happened that like I don't remember. Like I had like a situation where there was someone who I didn't really have the best relationship with like before. And then when I got sick, they kind of reached out and kind of were like, you know, like, oh, I know we burnt this bridge, but like I just want to make sure like you're good. Like because at a point you meant something, you know? And then, you know, post going through all that, I saw this person at an event, and then like I'm acting awkward because to me, we're not good. I didn't even remember this person had reached out to me because like there's so much of like that cancer experience that I just like blocked out, like it's gone. Like there's so many things that happened even just before and just after. Like my cancer experience was maybe like a year and a half, 2 years, and I would say like maybe 3 to 4 years of my life is just like hazy. Like it's just in and out. Like it literally feels like a dream. Like it feels like it doesn't happen. The only thing that reminds me is like scars and stuff like that. And even then it's just like, is this real? Like I'm like touching it. I'm like, this is still here. Like you wake up, you literally like you wake up, you're like, oh, so it did happen.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then you kind of like I don't want to say relive it, like re-experience it in your head. Like you kind of go over, okay, yep, that did happen. Yep, that did happen. Yep, this did happen. Okay. And then you're kind of going through it until you make it back to where you're at right now in life. Like that experience that happens to me often. It still happens to me, I think. Yeah.
Was it after the surgery where it did really actually become real? Like, did they have concrete understanding of what was going on after that point? Yeah.
So like going into it, they said like, you know, the hope is that if for any reason it is cancerous, that like, you know, we caught it quick enough and, you know, like it's out of you. Like obviously, unfortunately, like you're going to have one less testicle, but at least, you know, you don't have cancer. And then doctor comes in and it's like, well, like, unfortunately, like it spread. So like at first, so you're like, okay, yay, congratulations. You know, you don't have this cancerous tumor anymore. Boom, boom, boom. But you know, we just want to make sure. So we'll do, was it CAT scan or whatever they do, and then we just want to make sure. So you know, they roll you down, you do it, you come back, you wait another day that you're in the hospital, and then they're like, yep. So sucks to suck, you still have cancer, and it's like now it's here, and now like. You kind of have to sit here and wait, think about it for a bit, and then we're going to come back and figure out what to do because we don't know what to do yet either. And we have to like, you know, lay out your options and get all the forms for this thing and that thing. And yeah, it was just like a whole ordeal of, they just basically said, yeah, you have cancer, bro. Like there's nothing you can do.
So for context, like they took the one testicle out.
Yeah, and then tested it, and it was like, yeah, like it's cancer or it was a tumor, but then had to say, okay, like we have to check if it spread because of like how bad it was, because it's likely that it spread, but we have to make sure. We can't like tell you it spread and it hasn't. So they checked and then it did. It spread to my abdomen, which is it's obviously it's not a good thing, but it's better than having being spread to like my lungs or somewhere that was like I guess more fatal, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, at that point it was just like in my abdomen, and then kind of had to have like the talk of like it kind of like happened again. Like it was like, okay, cool. Like you have cancer. It's in your testicle. We're gonna remove it. This is the solution. Boom. You know, you're in your head. You're like, okay, today it's gonna end. I had to go through a surgery. This is gonna be an experience I'll talk about. I'll have to live my life XYZ now. But you know what? Like it's done. And then they say, nope, you're not done yet. You still have cancer. It's just here now. They just moved it to a different spot.
And how long was that period like that you had to, or that they had to determine after the surgery that it had spread?
Maybe like 2 days.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
But because you like once they say, okay, like we have to determine, then you have to wait your turn to go find out if you still have cancer, which is funny to think about now. Obviously in the moment, you're not really laughing.
No.
But when you think about it now, you're like, you have to wait your turn to find out if you have cancer, like behind all the other people waiting to find out if they have cancer. And then there's people after you waiting to find out if they have cancer. It's funny to think about now.
It is. You're just in this machine.
Yeah.
But you had your like CT scan after your biopsy, after the first biopsy. So they sort of could say, okay, it hasn't spread before the surgery, like, and her surgery took like 2 to 3 months after the diagnosis.
Yeah.
But yeah, just thinking of that span of what you went through is unbelievably intense.
Yeah. That was like all within like a week or two, like 2 weeks.
And not to mention that you're like kind of in prison because you're like in the hospital the whole time. Yeah.
You're like hanging out with your friends in the waiting room and you're just like in a gown with your butt cheeks out and you're just like chilling. It's like, and you're just talking shit like you normally would, but you can feel like the tension and it's not from you, it's from them. Obviously, you know, rightfully so. But you're kind of like at that point, like, yo, just it's like when famous people complain about being famous, like, oh, just treat me like a normal person. And it's like that's kind of how you feel, like, yo, just like the more that you look at me that way, the more that you like have like these silent pauses between things, like it doesn't make me feel any better. Like it makes me feel like worse. But like obviously you can't help it just as much as I can't help feeling the way that I feel.
No, well, the same way that you're in a dream.
Yeah.
So are like the other people, like, or at least that's how I felt. And I feel like maybe like your parents felt is like, you're also waking up. Like, is this happening to this person that I love so much? Like all of a sudden you're running through all the scenarios too.
Yeah.
And I think it's just so hard for people to break that down while it's happening, you know? Cause like everyone's going to make you feel that tension and that awkwardness because they just don't know what to say. And like, there's just so much uncertainty at that point.
Yeah.
Were you able to communicate at that time to your friends what that it was making you feel awkward, or were you able to communicate anything about what you needed?
No, because I could like I could have, but I didn't feel like I had to because I could also acknowledge that they were like trying. You know, like they were trying to like make me feel better and tell jokes and actually like, you know, like mildly trying to laugh at what I was saying and like the jokes I was making. And yeah, they were trying. I think my friends have in their own personal lives have gone through a lot of things. So, you know, obviously I wouldn't want them to go through like hard times, but because they've gone through their own hard times, not necessarily cancer, but just different things, they kind of had an idea of like how to make me feel better and like how to console someone that isn't necessarily, oh, like it's gonna be okay, like, you know, like not to say that that's really bullshit. Like some people, that's how they know how to console people, but I think most people, that's not really what they need. They just need like a friend or someone just to listen to them, or someone just, you know, to just make them laugh about whatever. Like they're your friends. Like they know how to make you laugh. They know how to, you know, they know probably the stuff that makes you upset too. So they might, you know, they'll know to avoid those things or to avoid saying those things. I think I was really lucky that I had like a lot of people around me, not necessarily people where I could have like always like super deep, meaningful conversations or, you know, a shoulder to cry on and that sort of stuff. I don't really think I had that, but I had just a lot of people who just like gave a fuck, like came around and like said like, yo, how are you doing? And, you know, really pushed themselves even though they were uncomfortable. Like they didn't know what to say half the time. They just like came and sat beside me and just like looked at me. like experience whatever I was like experiencing, or like just literally like sat there and like watched me sleep and like stuff like that. So
They showed up.
yeah, exactly. They just showed up, like even if they didn't know like what to do or what to say, like they were just there. Like, so I'm really grateful for that. That part of, I guess, that journey, like acknowledging it now. And in the moment, I didn't really think of it like that, but now that I look back on it, I'm just like, okay, like even if they weren't there for me all the time, or they're there for times where maybe I might have wanted them there, they were there for obviously like the most important time that they could be. Because again, there's a lot of people that weren't, that I was like, man, like I thought this person would have showed up, or I thought this person like would have been there, you know. I thought I wouldn't have to tell them, or even people I knew that they knew, and they didn't say anything, or they didn't do anything. But that's a whole other thing.
Sometimes you have to tell them.
Yeah.
Like I had a friend who I had to tell, like, hey, I need you right now. You know, you gotta like kind of show up in whatever way you can. But like, I'm just like not feeling like you're there. And, you know, he was just like caught off guard, like, yo, sorry, like I just didn't know, you know, I didn't know if you wanted distance right now. Or, but I think that's so amazing that you had that core group of guys all show up. Like that is special.
A huge part, I mean, for me at least, right away was just feeling like very isolated, especially being young, because you're kind of like looking around at your friends or people your age, and like everyone is like making plans, and all of a sudden your life is like just like put on pause, and like you can't do anything. It's another form of like being in prison, right? So I think just the fact that like people showed up for you, even though you are alone in your experience, because no one can fully like recognize what you're going through. Just having them sit beside you makes you feel like a little bit less alone, probably in that moment, right? Yeah.
I mean, like it's a lot to ask of your friends too, you know. And I had a moment where I had like a really good conversation with my uncle about that. Like, you know, you can't hold people to these expectations of showing up, and like your expectations should be very low. Like he basically said, like, man, like you have cancer, like, are your friends doctors? Like, are your friends therapists? Or is your family this? Is your family that? And it's like I think like to some people that might kind of seem like he's like dumbing down like what a friend should be almost, but like it just made a lot of sense to me to say like, yo, your expectations should be really low. Like, how can you expect people to like take you having cancer well? How can you expect people to have the answers that you're looking for, that like like no one really has, and no one around you has had cancer? So like how are they gonna know what to say and what to do and to make you feel better? And, you know, even if they're trying, like there's just no way. Like there's sometimes people that like they might have wanted to say something, they might have wanted to do something, like you saying with your friend, like he acknowledged, he knew that you were going through something, but his assumption would just happen to be the wrong one, that like you wanted space when you actually wanted the opposite. Because maybe in a different situation you would have wanted space. You would have been like, yeah, like, you know what, bro, like I'm going through this, but you know, I just need some space right now. But because this is such a unique situation, like you wanted something completely different that he couldn't have guessed at, or he didn't. Maybe he did want to approach you, but he's like racking his brain about like, yo, what do I even say?
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because that's what you're balancing. You're balancing like your expectation, trying to understand other people's feelings and the shock that they already have. But you bring up a good point, like, you know, yes, your uncle's right. Like, they don't know anything about going through cancer. They're not going to have the answers that you want. Did the hospital provide someone like a social worker, or did you get recommended a therapist or anyone at that time? Like, was there someone who was maybe going to help hold your hand through that process?
No. I didn't get anything. Like there was maybe like some sort of pamphlet thrown my way at some point, but not like, even I'm pretty sure the pamphlet, it was like the one thing that I feel like was most important, which would have been like someone to like hold your hand, or someone like unbiased, you know, like was like on one of those like, oh, my cat's missing, black and white, oh, social worker, call this number, you know, between these times sort of paper, versus everything else is like full color, you know, designed by some graphic designer. But this one piece, like, it was
the most important piece.
The most important piece was like, given to you separately, given to you like I didn't get that until basically after my surgery. I had to start doing chemo. I didn't get that until like I was in like halfway through chemo.
I know, it's such a gap.
Yeah.
Like it's such a gap for that moment. Like it's when you actually do need someone to come in and just talk to you with an unbiased opinion.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's hard. I mean, you went through the same thing.
Yeah, I don't think I had. It's weird. I think they bring the social worker in during chemo. Like that's like the worst part or something. Like that's what they assume, I guess. I don't know, because that's when mine came in too. It was like, but yeah.
So they tell you that it's spread.
Yeah.
And it's in your abdomen.
Yeah.
Is there like a tumor in your abdomen, or do they just see the cells?
So it's just like the cells. So like at that point, it's just like doctor sits you down, and so I went to like 4 different hospitals. So I started at Sunnybrook, and then I got recommended to Princess Margaret /
Mount Sinai.
Mount Sinai / what's the other one across the street? I'm forgetting the name.
I know it's
Hospital of Toronto. What is it called?
Oh, Toronto General.
Toronto General. So it's a doctor who literally works in like all 3 of them. He just sits me down and he's like, "This is what it is right now, and these are your options. You can either go through chemo. There's a chance it'll work. There's like a 50% chance basically it'll work, or you can do surgery right now, and like that'll remove whatever you need to remove, but like it's up to you. Like I'm not gonna tell you what to do. Like these are just your options."
Surgery of what exactly?
So it's, I don't know the actual term, but it's called RPLND, and so basically it's a surgery to remove all the lymph nodes in my abdomen that are, the way they look, are 50% cancerous. So it's something where the actual third option was to do nothing and like hope everything went okay, because it was only 50%. So I could live the rest of my life like that, and I could never actually have like full blown cancer, right? Or I could do the surgery and just remove it right away, or I could do the chemo and hope that the chemo just removes it. I don't have any scars on my body. I don't have to like go into my body in any way. And then those were kind of 3 choices. And in my head, like I kind of was talking about before, like if I feel like there's something wrong with me, I'm not afraid to say like, yeah, like whatever you can do to help me, like I'm willing to try. So at that point I was kind of like, okay, if I don't have to have like a surgery, like someone enter my body, then let me like go for that. So like I chose chemo, obviously. And then that was like, so this was in May that I first got the surgery. I think it was May 6th to 9th, basically was that 3-day wait. And then in June is when I actually started chemo, and I did chemo from June to the end of, so beginning of June to the end of August. So just about like 2 months, which is like a very short time compared to some people, a very, very short time. And there's like, it's a very humbling experience, I think, for people who've had cancer. If you talk to other people who've had cancer, which transparently, like you're actually the first person I've ever met who had cancer, like who I know, like none of my family has cancer. None of my friends have cancer. No one in my circle. I've never met anybody else my age I don't think at all, other than the people in the hospital, obviously, that had cancer. So you're the first person like that I'm talking to about. Like,
that's crazy.
Yeah. Everyone else I've talked to about my experience has not had cancer. So you're like the very first person.
I can relate to all your experiences to some level.
Yeah.
I'm a woman. There's some differences.
Yeah, of course.
but yeah.
yeah. Being in like choosing the kind of chemo path, like I think had a lot of this is weird to say, positives with having chemo. The one thing I guess in a way to relate to you is like, maybe at the times that I did like my chemo visits or whatever, 50% of the people there were women, like just off the bat. Like, and I don't know if what kind of cancer they had or what it was, but like that was like, when you're in that stage, you can't help but just like look and observe. Like half the time you're sick, half the time you can't really move anyways, so you're just like observing. And I saw maybe one other person my age, and his dad came with him the whole time. He looked kind of older than me too, and it's just like even that as an experience. Like there's times I went to chemo by myself because I just like had to, you know. It was a very interesting experience. I was also allergic to my chemo. That's interesting too.
Really?
Yeah.
When did you find that
Wait,
out?
did they?
The first day.
Oh my
The first day
So-
I had it's a called so like I'm sure they explained it to you. So like chemo isn't like a one and done, depending on the type of cancer you have, depending on the level that you're at. Like there's different like types of chemo that they give you. I can't even tell you what type I had, but now I know I'm allergic to etoposide. So like the first time I had it, I got anaphylactic shock.
Oh my
Whoa.
god!
Yeah.
So they did they give you Benadryl every time before?
Yeah, because you can't not
Yeah.
take it. Like
Yes.
you have to.
They give you heavy Benadryl.
Heavy
Yeah.
steroids, heavy steroids.
And during one of my chemo sessions,
Yeah.
across the hall from me, there was a girl doing the same type of chemo as me, and she
Yeah.
went into anaphylactic shock
Yeah.
and had to be like taken out. Like, how was that the same thing? Were you like unconscious? Like, how far did that go?
No, it was pretty quick because like, again, like I wasn't by myself. Like obviously for the first day, you know, people kind of want to be there. But yeah, I was just like sitting there, and then like you can like feel it go into you, and you're just like sitting there. I'm just like scratching my neck. I was like, why am I scratching my neck? And then I'm like kind of talking to myself out loud, and then I stop being able to talk, and then I can't breathe, and I'm just like to my mom, I'm just like tapping her. I'm like, yo, like I can't breathe. Like I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Like call the nurse, and then my mom's obviously freaking out. So she calls the nurse, and then the nurse just gives me some like thing like in the
EpiPen?
yeah, but she puts it into the
IV.
IV.
Oh, interesting.
Like right away, and like you can, it's like hot, like you can feel it like right away. And then like I didn't like pass out, but I was kind of just like I was like in a daze for like a second, but like they were pretty quick about it. But then yeah, they had to stop for the whole day, so I didn't do that. In a way, that wasn't my first day of chemo because I had to like stop right away. And then like when I went back again, they said, oh, like you can't like not take it. So you basically every time I went in for chemo, I reacted, and then they would do the Benadryl, and then I would take, there's three you have to take. So you take the one, then I do the Benadryl steroid, and then once that hits and it kicks in, then you take the second one, technically.
Wait,
yeah.
so you still had to keep taking the one you're allergic to?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was I guess whatever the only type I guess that I had to do.
So did you have to start feeling the effects every time, and then they would give
every
you
single time.
Oh my
Yeah,
god,
every single time.
That's
It
horrible.
wasn't as bad. It's not like anaphylactic shock, and then
yeah.
it's just like like I can feel like my neck kind of like squeeze up and tense up, and my neck would get kind of red, and it would go away right away. Like it would be like a 5-second thing. Like it wasn't like the first time where I was like there for like 30 seconds, like trying to breathe. Like it wasn't like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
How many rounds of chemo did you have to do?
I couldn't even tell you. I don't even remember. Just
Did
all I
you-
know is it was from June to the end of August.
Was it like weekly or every 3 weeks, or
It was like 2 or 3 times a week
Oh wow.
for
Whoa.
the 2 months. Yeah,
Whoa.
2 or 3 times per week?
yeah, it's pretty good.
Wow.
That's the most often we've ever heard.
Yeah.
Because people sometimes do like every 2 weeks once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know if you had an aggressive cancer?
I don't even know. I'm not sure. Like it wasn't like 2 or 3 weeks like every time. So it'd be like, everyone's like cycle is different. So sometimes it would be like this week I'm doing it twice, and then the next week I'm doing it once, and this week I'm doing it 3 times, and this week I'm doing it once, and it was like cycled like that. So it wasn't like 2 or 3 times like super aggressive like that. Like I should have kind of explained that. It wasn't like that much. No, it was like 1 week could be twice, 1 week could be once, and the next week could be 3. Like, and it would just go like in a cycle.
I guess it's just a lot to hear in comparison to the other ones we've heard. But I guess in that situation, like it's not like you are being told in comparison to other people. It's
Yeah.
like this is just what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
How did the chemo make you feel? Did you go through like all the typical?
Yeah, I guess it was just like it's like having the stomach flu and like a cold and a headache and everything you take pills for off the shelf, but like at one time, basically is what I would describe it as. And it's just like if you can imagine what it's like when you're like, I got to take 2 days off work because I'm sick. And, now I'm back to work. I'm feeling better. But like you feel like that for like 2 months, like every day. And it doesn't go away like ever. And it's also like a lot worse. So even now when I get sick, like it doesn't feel the same as it did before. Like I just like live with it. I don't take days off. I'm like, oh, like I'm sick. Oh, I'm blowing my nose. Oh, my head hurts. I got a headache. Oh, take some Tylenol. And, oh, this shit hurts. But I just live with it just because going through chemo was so much worse. Like, and there's no choice. I had to live with it like every day. So having a cold now or having like a stomachache now, yeah, I'm hurt. Yeah, sometimes, I got to take a day off or two. But like, if I really needed to, I could still function. Like it's not the worst that it can get.
Yeah.
Right.
So were you working the whole time?
During chemo?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, no, you weren't at all.
No. I couldn't
Okay.
when I say that, I mean, like, that's how I feel now when I get sick.
Yeah.
Like when I was during chemo, like I was not working. I could not function. Like I was just at home in the dark every day.
So how did you mentally cope with that?
Well, like my mom took time off work, to just like, basically just like be around like when I needed her for certain times. Yeah, for most, I think my whole chemo, except maybe like the last like week or two, and that's again like when my body just started getting used to just being sick. My mom was like with me like every single day, like taking me to all my chemo appointments and making sure like I was feeling okay and like ask me questions, feeding me and things like that. And there's like a couple different things. So like when I was going through chemo, so basically chemo like kills all your white blood cells. And so that's why people on chemo get really sick. So chemo is almost like when people try to avoid COVID, but like you can't really avoid it. So my white blood cells like went really low. Like I guess the chemo was working really good. So I had to go to the hospital a lot of the time because the simple term is it's called like a chemo fever. So basically when your chemo gets to a certain point, if you have a fever over a certain level, you have to go to the hospital, basically because you could die if you don't. So I went, so that was like, so it's like Sunnybrook, and then it was Princess Margaret, and then it was, actually before Princess Margaret, I actually forgot, I had to go to Mount Sinai to do like, what do you call it? I had to store my sperm, which is another thing where they're like, yeah, like, so like after you go through all this, you might not be able to have kids. So you got to do this thing first before you do anything. So that was kind of a sidebar. That wasn't really like didn't really feel like a huge thing at the time. But having to sign off papers saying, yeah, if I die, like this person can use my sperm to do this or have a kid or give it to this person. And that's a whole thing. But yeah, like during the chemo fevers, the third hospital was Scarborough General because I living in Scarborough at the time. And then you would just go there and then they would just like basically pump you with white blood cells. And then you kind of just had to like recover for like a couple of days. They had to make sure like you were okay to go home. And that happened maybe like 3 or 4 times like during chemo. And then eventually I had to take like this, a drug. I couldn't even tell you what it's called. And basically you just like throw it into your leg, like once a week, because you're doing chemo basically like once a week. And if you can imagine like when you get a bruise and that bruise is like throbbing, if you can think of it like the best way I could put it is like, when you see a bone and there's like marrow in your bone. So imagine like the marrow in your bone started to feel heavy, started to feel like weight, and it's just like pain. And then you're just like there, like laying down and you like literally can't move. Like when like almost like when you sleep on like the wrong side and like, your neck hurts or something like that. It's like that, but like all over your body. And like I had to take that because the chemo was working too good because I kept getting sick. So that was giving me basically white blood cells so I would stop getting sick, which it worked. I stopped getting sick, but every time I took it, I had to just like be in my bed for like half an hour to an hour, just like enduring this pain until it went away.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, that was my chemo experience, basically. That was like every day for like 2 months.
Well, it makes sense why you couldn't work.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I couldn't work. Yeah.
Did you at this time have a romantic partner at all?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
You did from the beginning?
Yeah. So when I got diagnosed, I was like only like 3 months into like a very new relationship. So that relationship is actually what sparked the conversation with my uncle that I was talking about, saying like, basically saying, he's like, yo, you're lucky she's still around, because if she were to leave, like, would you blame her? Like, he didn't like say, he like asked me, he's like, would you blame her if she left? Like, you guys don't know each other that well intimately. Like, she's probably never dealt with cancer, neither have you. So you guys aren't equipped to like go through that emotionally, especially emotionally together. And yeah, that experience was like now that even during it, like very distant and very like just didn't know how to deal with it at all, like very cold in a lot of situations. And again, like at the time I couldn't really blame her, you know, and I still don't, and I never would. But yeah, it was kind of hard, like not feeling like your partner was like in your corner, or your partner wasn't like saying the right things, or like not as worried as you feel like they should be, you know. And I'm not with that person anymore, but obviously like regardless of that, like again, I don't hold any, like, I don't know what the word is,
ill will.
Yeah, I don't hold any ill will towards her at all. Like, she was probably going through it as much as I was, like just in a different way, like having to like see someone like, wow, like I just met this guy and now this guy's cancer and now he's going through this thing, and he looked this way and now he's bald with no hair, and like, you know, different things you might think about as someone like, oh, it's like, oh, that's my partner, right? Especially if you're not like super deep in it. Oh, like we've been dating for like X amount of years and now they got, it's very different. Like I'm dating her for 3 months. Yeah. Right. And like half of our relationship, we had dated for about 3 years. Half of our relationship was cancer. The other half was COVID. So after those things kind of like after going through that sort of thing with someone, or even without someone, like that's a lot like to handle, you know, for a single person, especially if like, because you're my intimate partner, you're with me like all the time, you know, it's the same time we would have been spending, but like you can't go outside, or you don't want to, you almost feel like guilt for like being able to like live your life while like I'm at home, like just like bedridden basically. Yeah. I think it's a big, like, it must put someone in like her position in just like a really weird position, because you probably don't want to seem like a terrible person by like abandoning someone, but those are like big questions that you have to ask about your own life. Like, you know, that's going to really impact you. And even just everything, like there's so many unknowns. You don't know how the chemo is going to affect you, the fertility piece. It's like, you're having to like face all those huge questions with someone that you are still getting to know. Like that's, it was a lot. And like, even transparently, like when our relationship ended, not because of that, like that was a question I actually asked because I was curious. I was like, hey, like, do you think we would have been together this long if it wasn't for me getting sick? And like, basically your answer was like, no. And like, even for me, that was like, oh shit, well, what? You know? Like, and like that, I can't really blame her. Like, that's kind of like, even if that was me in that situation, I'd be like, well, shit, like, I don't really want to be like, yo, like, I can't handle this. Good luck with cancer. And like, leave, you know, it's a lot. Like, even just to try, even if you were to say, you know what, like, I gotta put my emotions aside, I decided to be with this person. Like, let me just try to be a friend to them, you know? And I feel like with the emotional capacity that she had, like, she did the best that she could for the person that I knew that she was. I think she did the best that she could in that situation with the time that we had together, like, before. So like, again, like, I don't know, I can't really, like I said, I can't really hold any ill will towards her. So she was with you from the diagnosis through the chemo? Through the whole thing. Through the whole thing. Yeah, through the chemo, through everything. Up until like all the surgeries and stuff ended. But yeah, like the chemo was like, yeah, up until, so like we started dating in like, I think February or March. And then yeah, I got diagnosed in May. So yeah, it's like 2 or 3 months. And then yeah, like another 2 or 3 months through the chemo and whatnot. And yeah.
So I do have questions about like your single life
Sure.
and then your guys' relationship, how you like met. But I guess in the chronology, would it make sense to just like go through after chemo? Did you like, what was that process?
I can kind of like fast forward. So like after chemo, so it was like May was the initial surgery that I had just to remove the testicle and the tumor. And then from June to August was chemo. And then you wait like a month or something. I forget what the timeline is to see basically if the chemo worked. It didn't work. So then I had to do the RPLND, which was in October, like the end of October, to get it removed, basically to get like all the lymph nodes removed from my abdomen, because it was either at that point, because the chemo didn't work and the cancer cells were still in all the tissue. It was okay. You either choose to say, okay, you know what, like I'm good, like I don't want to go through this anymore, like I want to just like try to live my life and kind of hope for the best, or I can choose to do the surgery. And for me, I'm just like, I'm gonna do the surgery. Like I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to, in 10 years, like something's wrong with me and I don't know what it is, and then it was this thing and I could have got rid of it 10 years ago, so I just like decided, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do the surgery. And then that was like on the 28th, I think, of October. I don't know if I'm getting that correct. So that was like, so August, that's like 2 months after of like just like waiting to just have the surgery. And that was probably like scarier for me than the first one. The first one was almost laughable because, honestly, it was laughable because it was my testicle. It was laughable. But this one was like actually like you're going like inside my body and like opening me up. And one of the things my doctor was like, he's like, you just have to know like once you go through this, like when you wake up, it's going to feel like your body is resetting. So there's a lot of things that like you're not going to know how to do. And your body's not going to know how to do. And like your mind is going to want to do them, but your body's just like is not capable. And you kind of have to like, it's almost like you have to wait for your body to charge. It's like if you had an iPhone for a really long time, you try to have an old iPhone, it just doesn't charge properly anymore. It's kind of like that. It just takes longer and longer to charge. And after you charge it, it's like, oh, your phone lasts for 2 hours and you got to charge it again. Right. And like, that's like the best way I can put like how like waking up after that last surgery was. And that last surgery was probably like the worst thing because I had a lot of complications afterwards. I had so basically a lot of times after surgery, because your body is reacting and almost returning on, there's a lot of things that are almost like missing because your body isn't producing them, and the opposite, where for me, because there was no more lymph nodes in there, my body was producing like extra like blood and like fluid. So I had something called edema. So basically they're supposed to put like a little tube in your stomach that's almost like when they take a sap out of a tree, so that your body, the liquid can just like flow out easily and almost like the inside of your body can breathe. And so my doctor, for whatever reason, decided not to do that. So if you can imagine what I would look like pregnant, that's basically what it was. Oh my God. Yeah. But like I had like an open, not a scar yet, but like for some, basically the bottom of my chest, just under my chest, to like the top of like my like pubic area, basically was like a huge scar that still had staples in it that was just closed. So if you can imagine like liquid filling up in my body, it literally felt like my body was like ripping open the whole time.
Ow.
And then it was like a lot. And then the first time it happened, they just like didn't know what was going on, and because like they don't want to like misdiagnose you, so they have to like do all these things, and like it was the first time like I felt like I was gonna die, like in that whole situation. Like I literally like I wanted to die. I was like, yo, like just like if you ever watch like an exorcism movie or something like that, like that's literally what it was. Like I was like crying my eyes out. I was like screaming. I was like trying to get out of the door, trying to find my doctor, because my doctor was doing like a surgery, which obviously takes like hours and hours and hours. So like they can't make a move without my doctor. So basically I waited like maybe 12 or 14 hours while my stomach is like filling up with this fluid to find out what it was, to make a decision about it, and then have to have my doctor approve that decision, which took like all that time. Yeah.
It seems extremely bizarre that they would not have pulled in another doctor.
Yeah.
Like that, like
Yeah.
Yeah. Like your
bureaucratic approach seems insane when your body's filling up with blood.
Yeah.
I just want to understand, when they did the surgery and they take the lymph nodes out, are they taking like tissue out too? Like how-
Yeah, lymph nodes are like the tissue that like absorb certain things in your body. And like that tissue is what had like the cancer cells in them. I think they call it teratoma. I think that's the word. I'm not sure. Yeah, and so it was just like, again, it was the same question was posed to me, like, oh, like, so this is what it is. Chemo didn't work. You still have cancer cells in your body. You can either choose to live with it or do the surgery. And then again, my doctor is like, you know what? Like, obviously, like, I'm a doctor. I have to give you my opinion too. My opinion is that, like, do it now and don't wait for it to get worse potentially. So then obviously, I chose to do it then. And then, a bunch of other shit went wrong. Eventually in the night, like, a bunch of other doctors came, and it actually did end up being a different doctor after like X amount of time. And it only ends up being a different doctor if you start bothering other patients. But I got to a point where basically, like, I was in so much
Anyone listening, take note.
Yeah.
Bother the patients.
Yeah. Oh,
Cause a scene.
Like, how are you bothering them? Like, just being like, this is ridiculous. Like,
no, like, I'm like screaming, like, I'm screaming my lungs out.
oh,
like,
so to the point they're complaining.
Yeah. Well, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I did it so often that, like, I basically fell asleep. Like, I was in so much pain, like, I passed out basically. Yeah.
Wow.
But a sidebar, I just want to make sure I mention this. This is a note from a triage nurse. Again, I guess we got to say, oh, we're not doctors, this and that. She always said, she's like, whatever you're feeling, always add 2. So if a doctor asks you, are you in pain between 1 to 10, and what are you in pain? If you're a 5, say 7. If you're a 7, say 9. If you're a 9, say 11. Because you, like, basically, if you don't say past 7, apparently, that they're not going to treat you the same as they would like any other, like, you're going to get put to the side basically. Like, it's transparently what she told me, because she even asked me, because I was like, this was like a separate occasion, but the one time that I had to go to the emergency room where she told me this. But yeah, in that note of like noting down things you should do when you're in a hospital, like, always at least say 7. It doesn't matter how much pain or little pain you feel. Like, if you feel anything at all and you feel like something's wrong and you need it to be fixed, like, always say at least 7 for anything. But yeah, that's a sidebar.
That's a great note.
Yeah, everyone write that down.
Yeah. And that is from a triage nurse. This is not me making up stuff. This is from an actual nurse that deals with, like, you know, the 3 a.m. calls of like, oh, what's wrong, and like, oh, we have to, you know, take your blood pressure and blah blah blah. But
yeah, I would imagine that doctors and nurses are probably very used to seeing people in pain, so maybe they're not as reactive to it, and you need to bump it up a little.
Yeah. It's really objective for them. And, and like, I think once you're kind of in that situation, not like a one and done, oh, I went to the hospital, I waited really long, blah blah blah. But once you're in that situation and you start to understand why you're waiting that long, because there could be like 8 rooms with 8 of these machines that, like, you know, all these people need, but there's one person working. Like, none of those rooms are being used. And it's like, once you're in a hospital multiple times, you understand why things take so long. It's not like people are being lazy, or, you know, people are like, you know, misscheduling things, which transparently does happen. But that's not what it is. It's like you start to build an understanding of why things take long, of why things take months at a time sometimes too. And it sucks, but it's the reality of what, like, these hospital workers are kind of going through to try to treat all these different people within a time that seems reasonable. And, like, objectively, if you're not in worse pain than person A and you're person B, you're waiting an extra 2 hours and this person's waiting just an hour. Like, it is what it is. Right? Yeah.
What well, you said that they had to bring in another doctor because you were in so much pain.
Yeah. So
the solution?
basically they had to just, like, pump my stomach with all the fluid. So they, like, basically put like this, like, needle that's like attached to like a tube, like I guess a needle big enough to like suck out whatever's in there, and it's like these like it's almost like these water bottles. They're probably a little bit bigger. I think they're gallons each, and then so like every time was like I don't know how much it was. Just a couple of gallons every time of just like fluid just coming out of my body. I have pictures. The biggest one was like 10, basically like 10 of these just filled with like this like orange fluid thing. That was just like a mix of like body fluid and blood. Basically like old blood, because it's not like in your bloodstream. It's like things that have come out because it's not going anywhere. Your body's producing all this blood for all this tissue that's just not there anymore.
And so lymph nodes would drain that.
Yeah, they would use it. They would use it almost. They would use it. But like the lymph nodes aren't there anymore. So it's just like my body's like filling up with all this fluid and this blood that has nowhere to go. So they kept having to like basically like pump me. And so I was supposed to be, after that surgery, I was supposed to be in the hospital for maybe like 3 or 4 days after. I was in the hospital for 2 more weeks because of the edema, because I couldn't leave, because it just like basically like kept going. And then their hope was like, oh, hopefully it'll stop. And so like every like day or two, I had to just like get pumped from all the fluid, and it's just like gallons at a time.
Oh my God. During that, was your mindset like, could you see past this situation, like into the future of not being there anymore? Or was it kind of like trapped within your experience?
I in certain moments, yes, but in others, not so much, just because, like I had a person that like kind of talked to me, and we spoke about it before this conversation. Whoever this guy is, shout out to him. He kind of just like saw me on one of my days at chemo, and kind of just started, struck up a conversation. He was a volunteer who actually also had cancer, sorry. And then he just told me, he's like, like whenever you're kind of in this woe is me, why me sort of like zone, like you kind of have to just tell yourself objectively, like what's next, because if you continue to tell yourself that, like you'll be able to push on past the other thing, because you'll like, if you think about like what the next step is, what the step after that and the step after that, and how do I get from A to Z without thinking about B, C, D, like you'll never actually get to that point. You'll just rack your brain, and like you'll become paranoid and sad and all these different emotions all at the same time, because you're thinking about all these different avenues that this road could go down, and all you need to think about to kind of like almost like calm your mind is just, okay, like, so like at that point it was like, okay, like, I had this surgery, now I have this complication. Okay, like all I have to do is thinking about getting to the next day and like hoping it doesn't fill up again. And like that was kind of my mentality like throughout that process. Basically from after chemo, that was kind of my mentality for everything. And I think that's why I was able to like go through it without feeling like woe was me like all the time. And then when I did feel like that, be able to like pick myself out of it, just because of that like small statement that is, again, it's just like an objective outlook on something that can feel so subjective to you, because like you're going through all these different emotions and all these different things are happening and people are saying different things, and you're trying to kind of like analyze what they're saying, but you have to just tell yourself, yo, it's like right now, like it's not that deep, like it can't be, like it has to just be, this is where I'm at, this is what they're telling me I need to do, and like this is hopefully where I'll be after I do what they tell me I need to do. And like that's like, if I think further than that, then I'm just gonna end up spiraling. And then that's what it's like, that's kind of where I was at mentally, at least. I guess after the 2 weeks being in the hospital, I still had edema, and so but like they had to just like send me home basically, because like they needed the bed for someone else, and I basically got used to the edema, just like, yeah, time for my pump, and I just like stick the needle in and just like do it like again like every like day or two.
You would do
like,
it?
No, not them, not me. Like just, like the different doctors would do it, and eventually it didn't even have to be my doctor anymore, because it was like a regular thing. And then after that, they just sent me home with it, and it kept happening, and then it was one of those. You might have to live with this for the rest of your life. It might go away. But eventually they get, again, another drug that basically, I guess, boosts your metabolism. And so basically you just use the washroom a lot is basically what it does. And eventually, because your metabolism is higher, it's almost like when you get like bloated, right? And then I don't know, you use the washroom really good or whatever it is, then you feel like empty. And that's basically what it was. Like when I used to get pumped, like it looked like my stomach was like inverted. Like it was so, like it was nothing.
It's like a detox.
Yeah. It was like, exactly. That's exactly what it is. It was like a detox.
Yeah.
And then it just made me feel like really empty, really low. I was really tired, and then had to like refuel up, and then eventually it would just like come again. And it wasn't until I started taking those, like, let's just call them metabolism drugs, that eventually it just went away. And my metabolism is still basically like that now, and I'm sure it's because of those drugs, but you know, I don't have edema anymore. And it's a thing where it's like they basically tell you like there's a chance technically you could still have edema, but it's just because of these drugs it just never gets to that point, basically.
And you're not on those drugs anymore.
No, not anymore.
But you feel like your metabolism responds.
I feel like it still responds like that even now, and that was like, again, like 4 years ago.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's great.
Definitely some life change.
Yeah.
How long did the edema last? Like, because was the expectation that you would go home with this and like somehow somebody at home would pump your stomach, or did you have to go back to the hospital?
No, I had to go to emergency room every time, every single time.
Like, that's a wild expectation.
Yeah.
every single time like it happened, it basically like it slowed down at first. So at first it was every couple of days, and then it was like every like 3 days, and then like every like 4 days. It kind of like it would slow down, and that's why they sent me home. They saw it like getting better. But again, like they still said, you know, some people they get this, they live with it for the rest of their lives.
Wow.
And it's just like, again, they kind of say without saying it, it is what it is. Like, you know, that's why you sign the paper to say, oh, there might be complications and
Did you have any fear about like side effects from your treatment before you did the treatment? Or did you just kind of go into it being like, whatever happens, happens?
Yeah, I guess because they kind of just read your rights about. It's basically just like for me, it was just a not being able to have kids thing.
Yeah,
and it's like it's like, oh, I didn't think I would ever even have to think about something like this. Like I'm writing down like, oh, I have to write my mom's name down to say like she can use my sperm to make kids if she wants to, or she will choose to, you know, like basically just like discard it to say like, yeah, like no more Brandons. Like, and that's just that. That was probably the biggest thing. The other stuff was, I don't know, it was so unknown. Like, like I couldn't rack my brain around it. Like, it's just like, there's could be 1,000,001 things that could have went wrong, but
yeah.
I'm curious about the fertility thing.
Yeah.
So you've only had one testicle removed, correct?
Yeah.
Was it that removal that they were like, there's a chance you may not be able to have kids, and it was after that they froze your sperm?
It was after that they froze my sperm, but that's not why, because of the chemo. So basically like the chemo, I don't know what exactly happens, but basically like chemo kills all your white blood cells. That's why your hair falls out. That's why a number of other things that it does. And then basically once you're off it, again, your body is like resetting, but there's a chance that certain things won't reset. Yeah. So again, transparently, like it'll get to that point, but like right now, like I can't have my own kids at this point. And like I had, after like my all my treatments and stuff, like you have to basically wait 2 years to find that out. So that's a whole other thing that like, okay, I wait in the hospital 12 hours, but now I'm waiting 2 years to find out if I can still have my own kids or not.
Except for the ones that were like the frozen sperm.
Frozen ones, yeah.
To find out if you can naturally conceive.
Naturally, exactly, naturally. Which eventually I found out I couldn't, which was like a whole other thing. But yeah, I guess I would be skipping ahead in the story. But yeah, I guess after all that surgery and, you know, the edema was kind of cured. Then I had like this other thing that was called, what's it called? A varicocele. A varicocele is just basically like a benign, really small water balloon in the testicle I had left in the other one, which can happen to any guy. It's actually not a thing that has to do with cancer or surgery at all. But because I had surgery and because like they were kind of like messing around in there, it was just like easier for it to come. So then that was another surgery I had to have because of like this cancer window that just kind of opened up this like can of worms of just like all these different things happening.
Where on the testicle is that?
That's like happens? It's like inside the scrotum basically. And again, it's almost, it's like It's like if you had like a sixth finger, it feels like that. Like it's just like an extra add-on inside your testicle. It's literally it literally feels like a little water balloon, like inside, but like really small. So there's a variceal and a hydrocele. So variceal is like blood, and a hydrocele is like it's just like fluid, like water. And then so like I had I actually had the hydrocele first, and I had the variceal. So I technically still have the variceal now, but it's benign. So it's just there.
Is there like any effects of it? Can you feel it?
So like it adds to the fact that I can't have kids basically because it's like in like the bloodstream. So like the blood that like would, I guess, let's say give life to the testicle and give life to the sperm. It doesn't flow the same. So it's not as strong. If not, I guess in my case, it doesn't necessarily flow at all. So yeah, it's just not, I just can't have kids. That's the end of it. That's kind of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I that was kind of like the last of the surgeries, which was like early 2020. And then after that, I guess that was like kind of like my cancer journey up until like waiting the 2 years to then find out like I wasn't fertile, like I couldn't have kids, which was like a whole other thing. And like the weirdest thing was like how we were talking about before, like the idea of like telling people you're going through this thing. So like I tried to confide in some people because I was kind of fucked up about it. I mean, like, oh man, like I thought I was good, like I was feeling good, like, you know, like I don't have edema anymore, like my metabolism's back, like I'm not bald anymore, all these I'm going to the gym, like I'm feeling nice, like I'm feeling myself. And then I'm like, oh well, now you can have your own kids. And it's just like, okay, like this, like why is this still going on? Like, bro, it's been like 2 years, like why am I still dealing with this shit? You know? And I tried to confide in some people, and they were kind of like, oh, I thought you already couldn't have kids. Like, don't you have like no testicles now? I'm like, no, I still have one. It still works. I tested it. It works. And even that is just like, it was a weird feeling to feel like people already like thought you were down bad, and like now you're like telling them like, yo, like honestly, I'm really fucked up because I just found out I can't have kids, and they're just like, oh, I thought that was already your situation. And it's like, not, I don't even even now I don't really know how I really felt about it. It's just like, it was odd. I was like, oh damn, like people already thought I was like this, and I the only one who had hope for me, kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of like my, I guess like my cancer journey. I'm sure like there's like other things that like happened that I might have missed, but those are kind of like the main, I guess like core things that had happened from the time I got like diagnosed to the time I kind of stopped having surgeries and things.
I just have one question about your cancer, because like mine, breast cancer is very like hormone related. Like hormones will like feed it into, basically make it grow.
Sure.
Is that at all similar with testicular cancer? Like does testosterone play a role, or like?
Not particularly. Not in the beginning. Testosterone plays a role now because I have one less testicle, it's less testosterone. So like my testosterone count basically like went in half. Like literally got cut in half. And like, so again, the most transparent way I can put it, like if I'm feeling a way about like sexually in a way, like, you know, a lot of people say like some of it's physical, some of it's mental, whatever it is. Like mine is like if let's say it was 50-50 before, now mine's like 70-30. Like my like
skewing towards
like, so 30% would be physical, 70% is just like my mind, because literally physically like I'm half the man I was, let's say.
So it feels more mental.
It definitely, yeah, it is. If like mentally I'm not into something, like it's just not happening. Like, and physically, like again, it just happens for every guy, not just like guys who've been through this, that sometimes you're just like not into it, so you're just not working and you have no idea why. But for me, it's just like I just know, like even beforehand, I'm like, yeah, like it's not happening right now. Like I'm just like, okay, like we gotta stop. Like
I've had this.
Yeah. I've had it before too. I had it before the cancer too. You know, something that happens. But now it's more like it's like I can. It's not like, oh, it's happening in the moment. Oh shit, like it's not working out. Like like before the moment happens, I'm just like, yeah, like it's not gonna happen right now. It's not gonna happen today. I think that's kind of the difference, I would say, when I say like for me, it's just like a lot of like it's mentally driven for the most part, I would say.
So do you feel more in tune with yourself then?
Yeah, it's I don't want to say it's like scary. Well, like I've always been very observant, but now I'm even more so observant, and I'm sure Mel can speak to that too, obviously, because she's my partner. But like it's like something weird. It's almost like a lot of the time I have to kiss with my eyes open. Like that's the best way to put it. Like, you know, not literally necessarily I have to do that, but like a lot of times I do like have to like see what's going on. I have to visualize what's going on. I have to really like, I have to consciously like think about what's going on like in front of me. And sometimes it's just emotions, like, you know, like me just being attracted to my partner is enough for me. It's not like, oh, she has to like touch me or do any sort of thing. Like me just like mentally being attracted to her is like what gets me there. And like that's not saying that's all I have, but that's kind of what I have now. Like, and I just have to like live like that. Like, that's just my life. So
Throughout all of this, I know that the chemo was very difficult, but after that, did you get to have a social life?
I kind of made a point to have it. Like I didn't want it to like change my life. Like, so obviously at that time I didn't have a job, but I was like pretty smart with my money, so I had like a good amount of savings, and like I probably should have been a bit more frugal, but I did like, it was almost like me rebelling against the cancer, saying I'm not going to let this change my life or my lifestyle. And when I can live my life the way that I want to, I'm going to, whether it's like, oh, going to this particular restaurant, or man, like going to clubs. Like I went to clubs too. I didn't do the same things. I'm not like there like dancing and stuff like that. And at this time I was still with my last partner. And we were still like doing things and whatnot, but sometimes it was like difficult because like I just couldn't be the same person. Like, so one of the things I did, which I shouldn't have done, was my friends were planning like a trip to Montreal, like just like do something. And then I was like, yo, like I'm going to go, like, I don't care. This was like maybe like 2 or 3 weeks, like after I was done chemo. Like I was like bald, like I was popping meds the whole time just to like keep up with them. Like I was doing it all. I was like, nah, I'm not letting this thing like bring me down. Like I'm wearing hats everywhere. There was one point like I was trying to go to this club, and like because I was still bald, like I was still a bit insecure about it. And there's certain clubs like I couldn't go to because like they said, oh, like you can't wear a hat in the club, and I'm just like, okay, I guess I'm staying home today. And there's other times where I'm like, yo, fuck it, I'm just gonna go in bald, like who cares? Like, and you know, I did my thing and I had fun, but like, yeah, physically it was just like, it was like very draining. Like I just like I wasn't walking for like 2 months. Like, you know, I was just like at home in my bed with my legs up, just like I was just watching anime, honestly. That's what I did. Shout out to anime. I always say that too, because I felt like, for me at least, like it was like all the stories are like far enough from reality where it takes you out of like your actual situation that you're in, but all like also have like these like underlying morals about different things, whether it's like religion or the environment or, you know, relationships and whatever it's about. Like, you know, like it just like kind of helped. It was like an escape from like everything. So in my free time I did a lot of that. But yeah, like a social life was very important to me. Like I didn't want to let like my cancer like turn me into a different person. Like I didn't want that, oh, like I had cancer and now I'm transformed and I found religion, or I did this and I did that, and I was like, no, like yo, cancer did a lot for me and taught me a lot, but I'm the same person, and I don't want to be like, I don't want to be anybody different. I don't want it to change how I live my life, or the plans I had for my life and the way I wanted to live it. So yeah, I definitely had a social life, and I guess that the portion of like, you know, after me and my partner had separated, like that was like a whole thing for me. Like at first I was like very insecure because I had like huge scars on my body, and like scars in places where if you're dating around, you're gonna see them. So like I have like a scar like that's like on, again, like from just under my chest to above like my pubic area. I have one that's like right there where they took out the testicle from, and I have one that's actually on my scrotum as well. So like if I were to get to a far enough place with any sort of woman, it's just like you kind of have to like drop the bomb right there, or you just like let this person's mind run of like why there's like this huge, it's not like I have like one scar somewhere and like I can hide it with like wearing a certain type of shirt or something like that. Like it's like literally down the center of my body. Like there's no hiding that, you know? So like those were conversations I had to have like really early, which were either really awkward or the person just like dismissed it, not in a bad way, but almost because I was like, yo, like don't worry about it. Like I'm good. Like I'd be like, oh my God, am I gonna hurt you? I'd be like, no, like you're not gonna hurt me. And like I'm fine. Like and like even having that explanation, that conversation, sorry. Sometimes it's a bit awkward for me and some obviously for them sometimes too, but I tried to make it as casual as possible and like tried to like, you know, throw the bomb, but like try to like, you know, catch it just before it hits the ground. Just, you know, just like lay it down.
Don't break
just,
the egg.
Yeah, don't break the egg. Exactly. Like just like lay down the egg and like, you know, just let it sit. If it rolls around a little bit, it's cool, but like as long as it doesn't break, you know, I think I was pretty good at navigating it after like the first time I had that sort of interaction with someone. I think I got used to it. The explanation, the either the awkward sit down on the side of the bed and like explain what actually happened and and it's like, oh my God, like are you okay? Like so what happened? And they're just like just more interested in it. And I'm like, you know what, like. Yeah, I had cancer, but I'm still a man. A man has needs. Let's get to the needs. You know, I don't want to talk about cancer right now. Honestly, don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, it's kind of like a killer at that moment.
Yeah, and
like mood killer.
Yeah, but I mean, like it is what it is, and you know, I lived through that part of my life, and it was fine. Like it was good, and yeah, I guess that brought me to meeting Mel.
Yeah.
And
so
then,
how did you guys meet?
We met at a bar. I honestly wasn't even trying to go out. It was such a random night.
Yeah.
It's the most random night.
Yeah. Yeah, we met at like a bar, and then she came up to me, just saying. She came up to me and started talking.
I had liquid courage.
Good for you.
Yeah,
I was bored.
Yeah. But yeah, like the way we met was like, I think in the best way possible. That we always say it when anyone asks. We basically bonded over like trauma. It wasn't necessarily about cancer, but it kind of led into that where we got to the intimate portion of the night, and then we were kind of talking about like scars and things like that. And if I can say about your
yeah. So I have like a big birthmark on my stomach, and I think I was wearing like a crop top. No, yeah. And then, I just kind of like share that just because like for me too, like when people like I like meet guys or whatever, it's kind of like I have like a big birthmark on my stomach. Like I wasn't born with it, but it just like appeared on my stomach. And then I think that like sparked up. He was like, oh, well, I have like a scar on my stomach. And I didn't know anything about like his like cancer or anything when I met him at all.
Yeah, it was kind of like, it was me trying to make her feel more comfortable, being like, "Oh, don't worry, like I got scars too. I got stuff going on too." And then, like we kind of bonded over that, and like as we were dating, like our relationship was I would say it was pretty quick, but it's because we kind of just like knew what we wanted, and the cancer like played a big role in terms of like what we wanted for like life. Like we were at a point where like. We didn't want like we don't want like a girlfriend or like we wanted like a partner, like someone to like build life with, and like a lot of those questions were like very like early on and very serious for me, because I'm just like, yo, like if you're with me, one, you got to be okay with the fact that like if we try to have a kid, like it's gonna be harder than with like some other guy. You know what I mean? Like if you're having sex with me, like transparently, like technically you can't hurt me, but there are certain things like I have scars on my body. There's certain things I can't do, you know, or just being comfortable with like, you have to be comfortable like looking at those things. Like, you know, like I'm comfortable with them. Are you going to be comfortable? Like, you know, like when you see me naked, like you're going to see my scars every single time. Like, and like, I don't know how you're going to feel about that. And just like, even just like bringing that to parents too, like, if I was a parent, transparently, I'd be like, oh, like my daughter is dating this guy. Okay, cool. Okay, like, oh, he had cancer. Okay, cool. It's like, but like, isn't cancer kind of hereditary? It's like, now it's like, if my daughter's dating this guy, like, are they gonna have kids? And like, what does that make them susceptible to? You know what I mean? Like that might not be something that they say like explicitly, and maybe not something they're thinking about now. But like when we get to that point where we're like trying to have kids, and then like that's something I think about for me, like where like I don't want to feel like resented. Like, oh, like like my daughter's beautiful. She should be having kids with this sort of person where they can have beautiful kids and it's easy, and they can have as many as they want. And for me, it's like, yo, if I get one, I'm good. Like, like I'm okay with that, because like it's just that much harder. And just even that conversation now, it's like, now I don't have to just have that conversation of dropping that bomb. Now she has to, when people come around, or like if I say I don't want to do certain things or can't do certain things, or if it's like, oh, like let's say we go on like a vacation, and like I'm at a pool and I have to take my shirt off, and now people are too afraid to ask me, and now they have to ask Mel, and I kind of have to give her kind of the tools to say like, okay, like this is what happened, this is how you can explain it, and like these are the things I'm kind of comfortable with you saying and not comfortable with you saying. And that's not a conversation we necessarily have like explicitly, but it's something that as we talk over time, that like I know that she just understands. Like I don't really have to say, okay, like if this person asks, like you can kind of tell them. If this person asks, like I'd rather you not. Like they don't really need to know my situation, because it's not like I guess you could say like almost like a visible disability. Like it's not a disability, but it's not something visible that you can see. Yeah. Right. So it's like I almost have that power to say like, this person I'm okay with knowing, and this person I'm not. And so like all those things that people would navigate over years, we navigated in the first month of knowing each other, like so many different things, and that's helped us kind of like almost catapult our relationship into being really strong and like being a unit. And again, like unfortunately, yeah, like we bonded over trauma, but like it is what it is, and we got to where we're at, and we're happy with where we're at. I hope. Yeah, like if I didn't have almost like this cancer and the situation, we might not have bonded in the same way. So it's a positive, I think, for me in my experience, and I'm sure it's not like necessarily like that for everybody, but I'm sure everybody would eventually find someone who accepts them for all those things that they've gone through, and is okay with going through those sort of things. And yeah.
I guess I'm just curious, like what that was like for you, finding everything out, and then what was kind of like your thought process of like, can I deal with this, or where did your mind go? Yeah,
like when I first met him and he like told me about it, I was like, yeah, like I was kind of step like, I didn't really, it was kind of like a lot to take in, but then I'm like, I just met this guy, like I don't know what, like I don't even know if we're even going to be like together for a while, like I don't know if it's going to be that serious. But I guess like after us like hanging out a lot and like just like falling in love, basically I was kind of like, okay, no, I think this is like a serious thing that I have to actually like take seriously, and if we actually want to have a family, it's kind of like a lot now, because he did his part, so it's like I don't know what that looks like for us. And regardless, like in today's day and age, like there is technology, and like I'm willing to like risk that, and I'm willing to like do all that. But it's like a lot, but it's also like at the end of the day, like I'm glad he's here. Like he's here for a reason, and that's all. I don't know.
How did you respond like when he first told you that he couldn't have kids naturally? Like how important was it for you to have how important was it for both of you to have a family? Like must have been something you were thinking about early on. Just like how did you respond to that?
Yeah, like I definitely want a family, so that was like very unexpected for me. But like I said, like it was kind of just like, okay, well I'm willing to do whatever it takes at this point. Like if and it's kind of sucks now because like we do talk about it, and it's like we actually like, do want to have a child, but it's like we want to be like financially okay to have one, like obviously, but it's like what steps do I have to take? Like do I have to like check my fertility like at this point, because it's more like insemination, I guess. We don't even know, like we can't we haven't gotten to that point because like doctors don't take you seriously unless you actually want to start trying. But that's why it's kind of like when we cross that bridge, it's kind of like I just hope all the tests come back like positive when it's like my part, you know?
Yeah. I just remember the feeling of like, because we went through a whole fertility thing.
We got a bomb to drop on you.
Well, because same thing for chemo. They just like send you to get fertility testing and stuff in my case. So we went, and because Avery was my partner at the time, they tested him just for like to get a baseline of where we together were at. So I remember just being in there, we were kind of like joking and like not really taking it seriously because, you know, it's like something you see in the movies, and we weren't even like really thinking about having kids yet. And we thought we were both just like fine. So we did the testing, and then Avery got some results that like basically it came back that he had 2 dead sperm.
Three. I had 3 dead sperm
in his sample and like 0 live ones. Like that's it. So, we had to deal with that whole journey as well. But I just remember, I think what I think about now the most, because he could possibly get a surgery to have it fixed. Basically is what the like, result was from that. But I think I had like a mourning period of just being able to have that experience of just like having fun trying to have a kid, you know, because now it's like this whole medical thing that you have to go through and you have to plan it. You can't just be like, oh, like, let's just like try and have a kid and see what happens. You know, it's like, it has to be so thought out, and it's just a completely different experience, I think.
For 9 months, I was basically convinced that I was infertile because I had to do genetic testing and no one had any answers, and I was doing a fair bit of tests. So I just like sat down one day with her, and we were in the middle of, you hadn't even had chemo yet. You just had your surgery.
No, yeah, it was before that.
Yeah, and I was just like, hey, like I got this call today that like I'm basically infertile. And like, you know, I mean, you know, like, you're just like, fuck.
They say they're like, they don't say 0, they say less than 1.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Less than 1? What does that mean? Less than 1? Like just say 0, man. Like
they love to not say the thing.
You're supposed to have like 200 million. Yeah. You're supposed to have 200 million, and they're like, oh, yo, you got 3, you know, and they're dead.
Yeah, it's literally just like, oh yeah, you have less than 1. I was like, what's less than 1 mean? It's mean like I'm shooting blanks, and they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay.
And that's what they told you after.
2 years later.
2 years later.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because for whatever reason they say you shouldn't even be trying to have kids, and because they said one is possibility that basically like you won't be able to like you won't have sperm at all. And then when I had sperm, I was like, oh, okay, cool, like shit, I'm good. And 2 years later, like, yeah, it's just mucus. There's nothing in there. It's just blank.
I relate. Yeah.
Rubber bullets.
Yeah.
Which is confusing because everything looks fine. You're like, this looks normal.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah. I had this like crazy like period of like shame.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, I felt like my body, because like there was nothing there. There was no answer for what it is, and I still don't know until they're gonna. I'm gonna do the surgery, and then, you know, fingers crossed that it would work. But I just had this like period where I just like even like sexually, or like if I was like alone, like I just felt shame, and like that, like I had this feeling that like it was interesting because like she was going through her thing, and like, you know, I don't know if you felt like this, but you had told me that like, you know, you felt like your body was like against you, or like it was defecting. It was against you, right?
Oh, I did research after they told me that. I'm like, okay, I gotta do my thing. And I'm like, yo, I'm looking for these guys. Like, where are these guys at?
Yeah.
And this doesn't look different to me. So I'm like telling myself, I'm like looking at this. I'm like, how come I can't see it different? Like, and I'm like getting so frustrated. I'm like, how come it doesn't look different? Like, how come it's the same? Like why? Like
you're calm.
Yeah. I'm just looking at it and I'm just like, man, like this should be different. Like I'm frustrated because I'm like, if something's wrong with me, shouldn't it look different? Like, you know, I had the surgery, cool, now I have a scar. Okay, they removed my testicle, okay, now it's gone. but now you're telling me I can't have kids, but I can't see the fact that I can't have kids.
Yeah.
Like, okay, nah, it can't be real, because I can't see it. I can't see the difference. And it was just like,
no, I know.
It's so frustrating.
I know what you mean. Like, I was like looking at myself, like, like, what am I even, like, isn't this the one thing you're supposed to do when you're here?
Exactly.
Like, this is what we're all made for, is to like reproduce. And like, I can't, like, so I'm less of a person because I can't do that. And like, I just had that like shame about it for so long and just felt like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And the whoa, I got I called them negative loops because I just couldn't get out of that. And I mean, you know, for me, there's hope, but there's also just that feeling of like, no one is ever going to tell you definitively, like what you guys are saying about how like even if we have one, you know, because like we have to do something similar. We're like, well, like if the surgery doesn't work, they might be able to just like take the sperm out of the testicle, and then it's like the same thing where it's just they would inseminate,
do IVF,
whatever that means,
whatever that, and however much that costs, and if it works the first time, and it's just this whole other journey that you have. But I mean, they're in it, so you know, they're with us.
One other question that I wanted to ask, because you had mentioned this when we talked initially, was that you felt like you were really like a strong support system for yourself throughout everything. So I guess I just wonder, like, what does that mean? Are there some things that you remember, you know, that you would like do for yourself that kind of helped you get through, or
I think being able to be vulnerable by myself. Like, I didn't need like a reaction from someone, or I didn't need, well, not all the time, but there are moments I didn't need an answer, and like being able to accept that was I think what made me feel like I was a strong support system. For example, there was a moment where, because of everything with chemo and like your body hurts, whatever, you're taking like Tylenol 3 and like Percocets and all this stuff, and there was times where I was on Percocets and I was just like in my room, like with the lights off, like sitting up in my bed with my legs on the bed and just kind of like hunched over, and like it was such like a dark moment, like figuratively and literally, but like I had so much time just to like think. I mean, like, you know what, like, shit's fucked right now, but you know what, like, I'm okay, like, right now, like, I'm alive, like, I could be dead, like, you know, and having those small conversations with myself and taking things as like a learning curve, like, helped me support myself when I felt like no one could. And it's almost, again, like, almost because my mom wasn't like that type of person, that like I had been so independent for so long when it came to my emotions, that like going through that was just like another test of like how expressive I could be with myself, and how I could pick myself up when I was down, and like and little things that like I had to tell myself, you know, like, it's okay that you're not okay, and like it's okay that you're like doing these things. And something small, like, and I still do it now, is like when I like the first time when I started to like so like when I was like going through chemo and I was kind of weak, like I couldn't really like shower properly, because like my body, like I literally couldn't stand up, so I would like sit down on like the edge of the tub or whatever, and then just like let the shower like just go on me, and like kind of like move really slow, and I'm kind of like it's almost like when a car is like jerking, you're kind of like just jerking around, like trying to like do things yourself, and then every time I would get out of the tub or whatever, and I'm doing my thing, and I'm like, I always have to like hold on to something, and then like the main thing is like when I use the washroom, because I'm standing up, I always have to hold on to the wall, like beside, because the way my washroom was situated, like was the toilet was like right beside a wall, and like I would hold on to it and lean, because I like, if I didn't, I would like literally like fall into the toilet, and that's something I still do now. And it's like it's kind of like a dark memory, and also like a good one to say, like, you know what, like like during this time where I had to like literally like hold myself up, like, you know, like that's okay. Like it's okay if you know, people can't always be there for you, because like, you know what, like you kind of have to take advantage of those moments when they are there for you, because then you can lean into them. But like you have to be prepared to say 100% of the time, no one's going to be there for me but me. No one's going through cancer but me. So like I have to keep my expectations low of everyone else, and have to raise my expectations for myself, because I'm the only one that's going to get myself out of this, whether it's like emotionally, physically, whatever it is. I'm the one at the end of the day decided to do chemo. I'm the one who decided to do the surgery. I'm the one who decided to do whatever I'm doing, you know what I mean? And being able to be your own support system and not like let yourself fall into like the hole of like the why me's is I think something I'm really proud of, like is like when people say, oh, like, you know, what are some of your accomplishments in life? Like one of my accomplishments is not saying, oh, like I survived cancer, but like I supported myself throughout it. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel good about it, and I feel like I don't have to hide it. I'm not ashamed of it. I can talk about it like really openly, like, and feel like I feel not happy that I went through it, but happy that I went through it the way that I did, and I can look back and say, you know, like I'm proud of me, and I'm proud of who I am now. And like I think if I wasn't me, I wouldn't have gone through cancer the same way. And yeah, I just like pat myself on the back, I guess, for having gone through it, and feel like I came out good, like I'm okay, like I'm alive, you know. So yeah.
That like made me emotional for a second because I feel like I had a very similar experience, and I feel like that's something that like the whole experience of cancer gave me too, is just that confidence in myself that I can get through something. Yeah. I wasn't alone, but like you are alone. Yeah. So on my own. Yeah. And it's like there's just things that you can do to help yourself, but you have to make a point to do them. Like it's not just going to happen. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So yeah.
There's definitely moments though, like where like friends with support systems too, like again, like the conversation we had where like, again, another core memory was, which is kind of, well, I mean, so basically there was points where I just like wanted to go outside. And I just like, I couldn't go outside, or my mom was like at work or whatever it was. And so I'll call my boys and be like, yo, like, what are you guys doing? Like, yo, you guys just like want to like, just like walk up down the street. And so where my apartment building is, like, it's like on a hill. So I didn't have the strength to walk up the hill. So like, I'm like holding on to like the back, my friend's like back, and he's just like walking with me, like really slow, like literally like dragging me, like just on the side of the street, like just like walking. And then, like, you know, those are the moments that kind of showed me like literally a physical like support system, like using his body, like to like just like help me just like walk. And like the irony of it is after that walk I got sick, like because I like I had one of the chemo fevers I was talking about, but it was worth it. In my eyes, it was worth it. Because like it also showed me now, like I have that like physical support, like he used his physical body to support me, that which helped me emotionally and mentally, again, literally physically. So I like in those moments I can't forget to like, you know, acknowledge those things as well. Yeah, it
takes a village.
Yeah, it really does. And the small things too, like even just so like my uncle had paid for this service. I forget what the thing is called, but it's like a service that people volunteer to drive you to and from your chemo treatments. And like you're literally like just sitting with other people in the car who have cancer. Like you're just like, it's like a school bus for people with cancer. And sometimes there's like this person who drive like big vans, and there's like, you know, like 6 people with you. And there's other times where it's just like a, you know, like little car, and it's just you and like one other person. And like, it's like me, I'm like a young guy, and I'm bonding with this old lady who's like 70, you know, and just like going to chemo. Yeah. You know? But yeah, like just like those little things too are not necessarily something that like you might acknowledge as a support system because they're not continuously there, but that one conversation can change your insight on something. This one thing a person said could you know make your day better when it was like going shit. Like yeah, even just to speak on if I could, like, just the idea of going to chemo is like, I think I kind of said this before. It's really humbling. Like, people are going through so much worse things than you. Like, the same way, like, people tell you, you know what, like, there's always going to be someone better, or there's always going to be someone prettier, there's always going to be this, but, you know, you have to be confident in you, or like, it's the same sort of thing when you're going through chemo. Like I saw a lady who had like a tube coming out of her head. I saw like a person literally getting transferred from sick kids into Princess Margaret. Like, it's just like the idea of like you're here for 2 months, or you're here for a year, or you're here for 2 years. This person has been dealing with it so long that they changed hospitals. This person is dealing with it to the point where there's like literally like a person assigned to them to help you get through cancer, like, or get through chemo or whatever it is. And you literally have like a fucking tube, like a tube coming out of the back of your head. Like, it's just so humbling. Like, it's like, even that, like you're seeing people like have a support system, whether for that person who is transferring, it's like the hospital is their support system. For the person with the tube coming out of their head, there was like another lady, I guess she has some separate machine from the chemo machine. Like, this lady's just like following her around, like this like box, which I guess is like some sort of generator for the tube thing. Just like little things that are like, yo, like, this is these people's support systems. They come in so many different forms and ways and words and people and places and things and just everything. It's just like, it's so nuanced, like what a support system can really be, I guess.
I do want to call out like healthcare workers.
Yeah.
Because at least in my experience, like, they made such a huge difference. Like, we had one nurse who was like incredible. I had her from day one, and then she wasn't there for all of my chemo sessions, but she was there for like most of them. And like, she just completely changed the experience. Like, I also just have social anxiety, so that was even a whole different layer of like having to go into the hospital. And I was cold capping, which is like you freeze your hair to not lose your hair during chemo, and it just requires like a whole setup of equipment and stuff. So I was like panicking that everyone in the hospital was gonna like hate me because I was just being a burden on everyone. And like, my experience was just so opposite of that. Like, they made the biggest difference of just being like kind and like acknowledging that this is a scary and new experience for you. I just think that they deserve all the props, because it makes such a huge difference.
Yeah, the stuff that like nurses specifically have to deal with is ridiculous. Like, that everyone who has had this like good experience with hospitals like speaks their praises. But I don't know if you saw this, but while I was in the hospital, I saw some people like disrespect these workers who are literally there to help your life go better. Like, they're taking time out of their life so that you can survive, so that you can live another day. Like, and you understand that they're taking care of you plus like 8 other people, and they're working like throughout the night. Like, these people aren't owls, but they choose to like be up from, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Like that's their shift. Like, and then the next week they got to do it all over again, but the other time, and they have lives and families, and they're going through their own thing, and they can put all that aside to like objectively take care of you, and then subjectively give you advice and make you feel better, and tell you these little things that just like uplift you in a moment where you might be down, or tell you a joke, or laugh at your joke that wasn't funny. Whatever it is, and it's just like a lot, like to carry, like you're literally carrying people's emotions. Like, you're watching people die sometimes. Like not a lot of us can say like we've watched someone die. Like, we've had the conversation with someone one day, and the next day like they're literally gone. Like, and it's just like when you're in the hospital and that happens, and it's like, oh, it's the guy beside you or the woman beside you, you're like, oh shit, like that's crazy, I've never experienced that before. And then when you're outside the hospital, you're like, this person works in a hospital, like they probably experience this like every other day. And it's just like there's no way to give those sort of people enough credit. There's no way. Like, you're choosing to be in a field that you watch people die, you watch people, like, literally watch them, like, in pain, and know that the only thing you can do is give them a pill that will help them feel better but won't help them take it away. You understand that every time someone comes in for XYZ treatment, that the rest of their life is gonna go one of, I don't know, 2 ways or 3 ways, and none of those ways are positive. You know, one is just happens to be better than the other. And it's just like all of that weight every single day for like however long you choose to be a nurse. Because for a doctor, like, a doctor is the one that, like, saves your life. I always say this: doctor is the one that saves your life. A nurse is the person who saves your soul. I say that every time. Like, nurses, like, save my soul. Like, I would not be the person, I would not have survived it mentally if it wasn't for a nurse. Physically, it's for a doctor for sure, but mentally is the nurse that gets you through it. That's what I would say, at least.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's really incredible, because we've in this even conversation have talked about how little resources there is for the mental health side of it, which within the hospital, but even outside the hospital, is like a more long-term side effect of this. So the thought that it ends up falling on the nurses and they actually are there to catch it is just incredible.
That may or may not be because of the lack of social workers, I guess, that deal with this sort of thing. But I know for me afterwards, I felt like I had nobody to really, like, get deep with this about, because again, like I told you, like, you're the first person, like, again, this was 2019, like, you're the first person I've met in person, not in like a TV show who's an actor playing it, or like, you know, this person on this commercial talking about how I should donate to this hospital because this is what they went through. Like, first person in real life, like, I've ever met who has cancer, like, who's not me. And like, it's just like, I don't know, maybe I felt like I couldn't reach out, or I didn't maybe look hard enough for these tools, or I felt like they should have been given to me. But even when we had talked earlier and you were talking about like Facebook groups and things, I didn't look for any of that. I didn't know any of that existed. And maybe that's my own ignorance too, of like wanting to be independent and figure shit out on my own. But I would have loved to have known like about things like that, like earlier on, like just coming out of my cancer and like, I guess, chemo situation, to be able to talk to other people and, you know, almost hear the fact that, like, you know, they had a bad time too, and it kind of made me feel better. I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one struggling with this or thinking about these things and going through that. And even with your situation, with your fertility situation too, like, that same uncle, he has a situation too, and he was unfortunately not able to have kids because of his situation. And his situation, again, it wasn't cancer, but it was something that related to fertility, and like just like being able to have a person to talk to is one thing, but having like this community of people that like are going through the same thing as you, even if it's not the exact same thing, like the you know, the diagnosis isn't the same, but the impact is the same. Like, regardless of what it is, like, I can't have a kid on my own. Like, that's just what it is. And whether it's cancer or a fertility issue or whatever it is, it's like we're all in the same boat. And to be able to talk to someone else about it is something that like you can't really, like, I don't know, you can't really explain. You're like, fuck, like, this guy's, it's like when you see someone on the street and you kind of just give them the head nod. You're like, yeah, you know what it is. Like, you know what it's
when
like.
you drive the same car or something.
Yeah, like you drive the same car, or you got on the same sneakers and you look at the sneakers and you're like, all right,
yeah, you know what's good.
You know what's good. And obviously it's over a negative thing, but it kind of makes you happy. You're like, oh shit, like, you know what, like this is just what the world is. And like, you know, even if, you know, in the long term, if I'm not able to have a kid, or I'm not able to do this sort of thing, and, you know, whatever that results in my life, you know what, like, I'm alive, like I have a life. Like, there are people in my situation who, like, unfortunately have passed, like, you know, or didn't catch it, or, you know, don't have the resources to catch it if you're like in a different country or whatever. And whoever this, even just talking about the US, like because I was under 25, whenever all this stuff happened, half of all my drugs and stuff, all that stuff was covered just from the government. Like even just that, like I don't even know if I'd be able to afford half the stuff I had to get like at the time. And just thinking about that sort of thing too, and having the support of like a government, I guess, even though we complain about it as much as we do, like, because there's always something to complain about. It's just like, I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful for for a healthcare system that gave a fuck about me, like to say like, yo, like, don't worry, like we got you, like, but yeah, like back to the point of just like having someone to talk to is just something I wish I had. And it just makes me happy to know that it's there, because I didn't know that it was there. And
I don't think it's like expansive, but there are like Toronto. I know that there are Toronto support groups, Ontario support groups for young people with any kind of cancer. I was actually in a support group with someone that had testicular cancer. So they do exist, but it was like, there was like one place I had them, and it was like, oh, we start a session every like 3 months. So if you miss the entry date, then you have to like wait for the next one. And we only do it every like, because there's only so many young people, I guess, that are getting diagnosed. Like the need isn't necessarily there for it as much. But yeah, I found one. And then there was some, I don't know, I wonder if it would be the same for testicular cancer, but there was like a really great breast cancer Facebook group for women, I think like under 45 or something. Yeah. So that was super helpful. But yeah, I definitely don't think it's there in like the size that maybe it should be.
Yeah.
And even just, it's just crazy that they just don't give you anything in the hospital. Like,
no therapist.
They didn't give me they didn't give me anything. Like we only found out about support groups locally because of Avery's therapist at the time. She was like, she was very like connected in the breast cancer world because she had it when she was younger, and she was the one that like gave us all the resources. So if we didn't have that connection, like I would have maybe not found them, unless I really looked myself. So
I mean, it's so true what you're saying though about like we always make something to complain about, and like even throughout the process of like our health journey, there was, a lot of like tensions and hard times with doctors, but it is true that the nurses really do save your souls, and we don't give those people enough credit. We should bring someone on, and a nurse.
A nurse?
Yeah, and I think that'd be really interesting.
Just be like, how do you do it?
Yeah, how do they do
Your
it?
life is hard.
Yeah.
But it's really, what you said is so true, and it makes me feel grateful of those people who were there for us, who choose to be there for you, and do it every day, even though it's really not easy.
Yeah, it's a lot of weight, like to like have, and you have to like almost like switch out that weight, and like if you're in the hospital for like a certain period of time, like you build a relationship with these people, like it's kind of hard not to when you're going through that sort of thing. And for them, it's like for you, it's like, okay, you're in there for X amount of time, whether you're in there for 2 weeks or 6 months, and then you're gone. For them, they're building that relationship with 8 people at a time over different sets of time. Sometimes they build that relationship, and then just like in shows and stuff, oh, where did this person go? Oh, they died. Or where did this person go? Oh, you know what? They got better. They went back to their family. You're never going to see them again. It's like, oh, okay. And it's like every day you have to like, it's just weight that you're like, okay, now I have the weight, now I don't. Now I have the weight, now I don't. And it's like, now there's 3 weights, and this weight is here one day and then it disappeared and I lost it. And it's like this whole emotional roller coaster that they just sign up for because they again, they just give a fuck. Like, basically.
Yeah.
So what, like, looking back, I'm sure there's guys that are going to hear this and they're going to, have a lot of questions. And what like advice would you give to young guys? Like you mentioned that there was like a slight delay at the beginning, but you acted pretty quickly on it and you didn't really wait. Like what can guys look out for or should be aware of in this process that you feel might be worth noting?
I think just like prioritizing your health, I think over anything. If you feel like something's wrong, go and fix it. If you feel like the doctor you went to isn't helping you fix it, go somewhere else, because you're probably right. There, you know, God forbid, but there's probably something wrong with you. Whether it's, a fertility issue, whether it's cancer, whether it's, oh man, like you got this really bad case of acne, like whatever it is, like go and fix it. Like it's there for a reason. Like don't, like, because it's free and because you can just like walk into any clinic and get this sort of help, like you don't take it as seriously versus someone like, again, like in like America where it's like, okay, this thing's wrong with me. Okay, I got to pull together. Okay, it's going to cost $3,000. Okay, I got to work. Once I got that $3,000, okay, let me go into this hospital and get this thing done. It's not just, oh, I feel like this thing's wrong with me. I have a stomach ache. Let me just walk into the emergency room and they'll help me out. Like, and that's what it is in Canada. Like, you just walk into the emergency room. It's like, I'd rather wait 3 hours for help than have to work, I don't know, 200 hours just to make enough money to like go into the emergency room. Yeah. For whatever it might be. And then when I go into the emergency room, I might not even have made enough money to fix whatever I thought was wrong with me because it's something worse or it's something different that cost more or just has a different process or whatever it is. And I think just like take advantage, be selfish with the process. Like I said, if it hurts a 5, say it's 8, say it's 9. So like you get that, you get that service, because it's like, if you know underlyingly something's wrong with you, like just like do as much as you can. Like if you need to see a doctor, if your parents are one of those people that say, oh no, you don't need doctors, you need to see this naturopath and take the meds from the doctor, take the fruits from the naturopath, use all of it. Use everything that you can to like help your situation, like everything, like, and like take advantage of the people. Like if your friends are your friends, they will let you take advantage of them in those situations to say, yo, like, bro, like, yeah, I'm really down right now, like, yo, can you just sit for like 10 minutes and talk with me? Cool. All right. Yo, you can't do that. All right. Like, you know what? That's cool. But right now, like, that's what I need. Like, I'm going to go ask so-and-so. And if they're their friend, I'll be like, all right, cool. Like, no worries. You know what? I got time tomorrow at this time. Like, does that work for you? And being grateful, you know what? Like, yeah, I can make that work because like I'm the one who I really need that. Just taking advantage of time and of resources, and whether it's people or things and medicine and doctors and whatever, just take advantage of it all. Everything that you can get your hands on to make yourself feel better mentally, emotionally, physically, take it.
Yeah, like give yourself permission to be selfish, because
100%.
You're the only person that'll advocate for yourself.
Exactly. That's the advice I'd give in every situation where something is wrong over anything. Yeah, just take advantage of it all.
Have you changed anything about your lifestyle based on like everything you went through, everything you learned? Is there something you're doing now that's different than before?
I think intermittently, I just like quit things, like if it's something small, like oh, I'm not drinking pop for X amount of time, and when I do that thing, being able to give myself grace. I think that's the biggest thing of anything. Giving yourself grace to kick a bad habit, giving yourself grace to get into a good one, giving yourself grace to be sad for X amount of time, giving yourself grace to not consistently progress. Like you might not be progressing because you're not making any more money, but like you're progressing because you understand yourself more. Like, and being able to acknowledge those different foundations of life, like that I may be going through, and like not shaming myself, saying, man, like, Brandon, you're still at this job. Brandon, you still didn't make this thing successful. Brandon, you're in another relationship. Like, what's going on, bro? Like, what? Like, why can't I work out for you? And it's just like, I think, again, just giving yourself grace. I think that's the biggest thing, which I never used to do. Like, if I failed at something, I was like, yo, like, Brandon, you fucking suck. Like, talk myself into the ground. Like, but now I'm just like, I'm proud of the little things. Like, I don't know, like, I chose not to eat that bag of chips. I only ate half the bag of chips. Last year, I would have ate the whole bag of chips, and I would have went and got another one too. Like, just small things like that, and giving yourself grace and acknowledging those small changes, you'll see how much like happy you are with this, like, just living life. Like, you're just like alive. Like, so just like live, like, and the understanding of that, like, you know, like this physical thing is not necessarily going to get me what I thought it would, but you know what, I'm still going to strive for it because that's what I want. This emotional thing is maybe not going to get me where I think it's going to get me, but because it's what I want right now, I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to fail. I'm going to go for it again until I get it. And just through every step of whatever you're doing, like whilst you're building a foundation, whilst you're growing or scaling this thing, whether, you know, it's I want to climb the corporate ladder, oh, I want to start this business, oh, I want to eat healthier, oh, I want to start to go to the gym. You know, if I start to go to the gym for 6 months and then I cancel my membership, which has happened a couple of times, I will go back again, and I will not say, oh, like I failed at the gym like 3 times. No, I'm not going back. It's not worth going back. It's always worth going back. It's always worth restarting. And the only way you'll be able to like get yourself in that mode is giving yourself the grace to fail, to plateau, to I don't know, to love someone, to, you know, to choose not to love someone, to burn a bridge, or, you know, to rebuild a bridge. Like that's one of the things, big things, like I've always said, like, I'm not always said that I've recently done, like after going through cancer, is like being able to acknowledge that, you know what, I'm not the type of person that says, oh, I'm this new person, now I got to burn all these bridges because these people aren't good for me. I thought of it like, okay, this person like was a really good friend to me, and you know what, like, you know, we may have not had the best relationship or been the closest, but I would like to be, you know, like I want to build a bridge to this person, and I want to let them know that and be explicit about it. And I've done that with a couple of people, and I think that's also another thing, along with the giving yourself grace, is just changing your perspective on things, and being able to like let yourself like learn it. You know, not again, I guess another just way to say giving yourself the grace to like learn something and live through it till you get it, I guess. Yeah, I'm kind of rambling now, but yeah.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's applicable to all of us. I think we all need a little bit more grace towards ourselves.
Yeah.
I think that's a nice note to end on. Unless you guys, do you feel there is something else you wanted to share or deep dive into?
No. I think I talked a lot. I think
we appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys doing this sort of thing, because again, this is time out of your day that you're taking to like talk to me and other people when you really don't have to. You know, you could have these conversations intimately just between each other as friends, but you choose to like, you know, talk to like different people and people who are strangers initially about like such like deep things, and you're putting your own like intimate feelings and situations on the platform, and, you know, sharing them, and not sharing them once, sharing them again and again and again, and I'm grateful, and I just want to say thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Community.
Yeah.
There was no resources for young people, and I think that's part of why you didn't like encounter that, and no one gave it to you. And I think that's part of just like why we all want to do this, is that just like the first thing I did was go to a bookstore.
Yeah.
To be like, I was looking for literally like, what's the boyfriend's guide for surviving breast cancer, you know?
Yeah.
And there wasn't one. Yeah. And like, there won't be until we all talk about the fact that like, yeah, there's young people who get cancer and who go through, you know, who are their care partners and who go through this. And we just wanted to open up that world and show that people should talk about it.
Yeah.
And that it's not just a conversation for people with cancer or like immediate people beside the person with cancer. It's a larger conversation to be had within the community for us to be aware of like what people go through, what the processes are, like what are the things that are missing in our communities, and how can we all participate in making that better. Like, who's going to write that book? Like, someone's got to write the book about the boyfriend's guide to surviving cancer. But
I started it, but I got to give myself grace to finish it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, appreciate it.